of Shadowcast. How are you guys doing?
Hello everyone, what's up? Exciting news, exciting choices, exciting chat over.
I'm excited for this week. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's been like so many announcements this week. Um, oh, whoops. Let me mute that. There we go. Now there shouldn't be an echo. All right. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. We have Rage just happened. We had SVO that was last week. And we have the conclusion of SVO this weekend as well. We've got as you guys I assume are aware, there's the all the spoilers that are coming out. And then on top of it, just with Rage, there was a lot of just interesting and neat announcements that Side Games came out the gates with.
A lot of announcements.
So let's start with the simplest of all of them. I don't know if you know this, Aka, but there was recently like a thing where you can vote on which legendary card you want. I don't know if you voted for that. Um,
Nope.
Apparently, Queen of the Dread Sea won. My guess is because so how the voting thing worked was you would choose whichever legendary you wanted, and whichever one got the most votes, everyone would get one free copy of. And what it sounds like is a lot of the Japanese players thought Queen of the Dread Sea was going to get nerfed, so they wanted the 3,500 vials. So everyone voted for Queen of the Dread Sea.
Yep. I know. Wasn't Mail of Obliteration like really far away?
Middle of
Like,
it was like second place, I think.
but I think Mail was so far ahead. When I saw them, it was a meme tweet. Like Japanese players were pushing the Mail of Obliteration so far ahead of the competition. But I was surprised when I saw that Queen actually won that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's not like I guess there are people who are like, I want to play Queen Dragon or Tilting Dragon, but don't have the cards for it too.
Don't, don't play. Do not play Queen Dragon, please.
Be the hero ladder needs.
No.
So,
Speaking of that,
hmm
we got the World Grand Prix too. We have not talked about it because it's been 2 weeks actually that unfortunately Shadowcast could not be produced. But now we are here, and the World Grand Prix, not the World Grand Prix, sorry, the Grand Prix of Chronogenesis is coming to an end. Did you get your results in?
um, as far as for which, what do you mean by the results?
The 5-1, 5-0 or 4-1 that you need to be in Group A.
Oh, that the
The
Grand Prix
grand,
mode. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm thinking of the actual the World Championship. I was a little confused by what you're saying. Yeah,
I messed up. Yeah,
yeah. What was it? The first couple days, I was making a push. I was streaming it. I was trying to go 4-1 or 5-0 with what's it called? Deepwood Anomaly Forest, but
I saw
after
that.
after a few attempts, I came to the conclusion I don't have too many more tries at this. Let's try with the regular deck. So I used Dirt Rune, and I got there pretty quick. I got there on the first try with like a Silverblade Golem Dirt Rune deck. That was pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
I was more boring. I tried. I did it with Forest first,
Hmm.
and then I tried Forest, and I didn't qualify, so I went Shadow and 5-0'd it. So I was more boring than you. So just good old mid Shadow,
For,
just cleaning it up, easy.
for day two of the or for the second part of the Grand Prix trial, I did it with a very greedy control elephant deck with like the Saha Isterfill package with Bahamut's and stuff like that. It had like no actual early game plays, and you just hoped for the best.
Yeah, now it's gonna be crazy. You just have a one shot to make it or lose it all, and
Yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of people will be triggered because they lost to High Roll Dario or High Roll tilting into windmills, and they will not be happy about it. I can imagine the salt, but it's gonna be exciting.
the way they're saying it works is that it's sudden death mode. So I wonder if that means as soon as you get a single loss, you're out of it, or if
Yeah,
it's you have your total of 3 arena losses.
I think it's just 5 games, and I think it's the same thing. 5 games, you just have one round. I think that's what I. The sudden death is you have one round, nothing else.
I would
You
hope that
cannot repeat rounds.
you get your full 3 tries rather than just whoops.
No,
I got high rolled by
because
Dario game one, and that's just the end of my
oh no,
run.
because the prize is like 5 win wins, 3 wins, 2 wins, 1 win. So you have to assume it's the same format, exact same format.
That makes sense. That makes
Just
sense.
one chance instead of 2 chances.
So,
Now it's like 2 or 3 chances a day. It was actually updated recently, and the last round is just one shot, only one
t-
round of 5 games.
so what do you think you're gonna play for your last try? What
Uh,
deck?
it's Shadow.
Mid Shadow. It's a consistent one.
Yeah,
I think
I qualified with it. So
I might. I don't think it's a good idea, and I'm probably not gonna do this. Maybe if Twitch chat can convince me, I might try to do Deepwood Anomaly as the last try. I kind of want to do a little bit better than that though. Maybe we'll play a somewhat more legitimate deck. So, Rage happened over the week. It was what 2 days ago now, right? 2 nights ago, night and a half ago maybe.
it's
And
hard for me because I slept one time during it, and now so it's hard to say. But I think it was yeah, 2 nights ago. Yeah.
my sleep schedule since Rage has been like super janky. I've been like sleeping like 2 hours, just taking naps. So yeah, congratulations to Mizuse for winning Rage. That's he did it with a pretty interesting Daria list. Shocker, right? Daria did pretty well, but it had chimeras in it too, giant chimeras.
Yeah, and also tilting at the windmills again, proving its worth once again at the top stage. And curiously, mid shadow, we had the players that played mid shadow in that top eight. The only 2 players faced each other at the grand finals. I didn't get the mid shadow mirror that I wished for, but it was still very good to see. It was a sweep. It was a 3-0 sweep by Mises.
Yeah, despite Exodium's best wishes, Shadow still does pretty well. um, so guys, Daybreak Night Edge is only a couple days away. I think it's on the 28th that it comes out, so that is 6 days. Yeah, definitely get your packs ready, get your lucky coins ready so you can open up your good cards and pray to side games every night so you get all of the animated cards you want.
I have some interesting things to mention now that we're talking about announcements. It was
Mhm.
also announced in Rage that this expansion is going to be 97 cards, and that in May they will add 17 more cards to Dawnbreak Night Edge. So, for instance, when we used to get 120 card-ish, and then we had 3 months of playing with the new cards, they noticed that the third month would always get a break in play, which is normal. People are like uh, bored of the meta. It's always the same thing, repeating the same games, so they're less likely to play the game. And also because at the end of the season, we're noticing, at least in the West, that the SVO takes all the competition away, kinda, and it's only invitational. So a lot of people are not practicing the game so much. So they decided to spice it up a bit, and had 17 new cards at the last month of each set, which to me will make it really interesting. Like it's almost as if brewing season will be every single month, right?
Yeah, so this 17 card like mini expansion that they're doing at the end of the expansion was met with a lot of conflicting opinions. A lot of people are it's been pretty controversial. Like I know there have been some people who have been very negative about this. I personally think that this is awesome depending on how it's done. Um, I think the fact that Daybreak Night Edge is being split into this second thing to allow us to have like a more refreshing meta near the end of the season when I can say for myself, and I'm sure many other people feel this, near the last month, a lot of people just get pretty bored of the expansion that we have. Like it's pretty known that play rates just go down near then. So
Yeah, we have experience with that because we're on a team and we literally see our players and ourselves saying, we're not playing as much nowadays. So
now, the thing that I think this is a great idea. The thing that worries me the most about this is if those last 17 cards that are coming out, if the way you get them is by buying the same Daybreak Night Edge
it
packs
is,
that you
it
bought at the
is. I
beginning of
think
the
it is.
expansion,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah,
worries me.
I read English news today that it was phrased like that. So I think because they mentioned they will be added to Dawnbreak Night Edge. So I assume they'll be in the same packs. That is the thing that worries me. I think that's where the backlash comes from because free to play players do not have enough coins to spend them all now and save some for later, right? They want to experience Downbreak Night Edge as all of us do. They want to get all the cards that they are at their disposition. However, if they do that, they will be facing trouble at the end of the month. They won't be able to get those 17 cards because the pool is so big, and getting those 17 cards will be hard. Not to mention, the
Hmm.
17 cards will have one legendary per class, which means that the vial output and the vial will be the vials that you need to get access to those 7 or 9, I guess 9 legendaries will be really expensive, and maybe you won't have enough coins, or you just won't do the legendaries at the end of the month.
That's the part that concerns me. If it really is all going to be in the exact same Daybreak Night Edge pack, and then on top of it they're adding that third legendary, that could I could understand the community backlash to something like that. And if something like those cards were released as golds or as silvers or as bronzes, I would think the backlash would be much less justified. But I think this
Yeah,
overall this is a good change for the game, and Games did say in like the announcement for that, and this is just something they're trying out. They want to see how it works. Maybe this is something that they're going to build on, make it better as time goes on, or maybe they're going to say, "Hey, this really didn't work," and they just scrap the idea altogether. I think at the very least, experimenting is a good idea, and we should be happy about that. And then,
change is usually good. And then they also mentioned, I didn't say this before, but they also mentioned they will give us free pack tickets
mhm,
when those 17 cards are released. I assume they will give us they usually give us 10 when a new set comes up, but maybe 5 tickets because it's only 17 cards. But they're very generous with this. They're doing this not to extract money. They have a lot of that already, so they're all honestly doing this because they want to see us excited about the game. They want us to have fun with their game. So that's why they're doing this. Not It's not a scam or to fish more money out of players. It's just a way that they feel will improve gameplay.
and keep in mind the expansion is normally we get what 130 something card expansions. This is a
Uh,
97 card expansion, so you're going to have to buy less cards right at the beginning.
exactly.
So it's the I think it's going to work out. It's just people are perceiving it as there are some people perceiving this as a negative thing when I don't believe that's what this is. So, we were talking about Rage and we were talking about all the announcements at Rage. Another thing that they announced, which I think is super awesome, is they have announced that there are now going to be teams. That is going to be just like now Shadowverse already has teams, but these are going to be like officially sponsored teams, like with a salary and such.
Yeah, it's only Japanese available now, but we are very excited because Japan is always the stepping stone. It's always the first stone that they throw at whenever they do something.
Hmm.
Like the first LAN event was obviously Rage, obviously Japan. Last year we had the first ever global LAN event. Now we will have West only LAN events, which is also very exciting. And now we get pro leagues in Japan. Eventually, we might get them in the West too.
Yeah, who knows what the future has in store for us? It's really hard to tell. So I think as far as news, that's all I can think of. Is there anything that we missed, Aka? Um.
Um. Oh, or boy, Zero Fine
Oh
making
yeah,
it to
that's
second
important.
week. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, congratulations to Shiro Fine. No, this weekend is going to be the final weekend of the Shadowverse Open. Definitely make sure to cheer on Zero Fine. We want to see him do. We want to see him do well. We're really excited. Um.
I'll be watching him like I was before, and it's always exciting to. Sometimes it's exciting to be on the other side of the fence, watching someone play and cheering for them rather than be yourself playing. So
Mhm.
it's exciting for me to see him do well.
As a spectator, when I watch like Shadowverse Open, I get so invested into them. Like since the players are my teammates that I get to watch, it's like, oh man, every single top deck and every single play like has me like jumping at the edge of my seat. Last weekend when there was in Zero Fine's last
The
match,
the
the
Saphira game.
oh my
Oh
god,
my
that
god.
Saphira game was incredible.
I was on on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh come on, don't play it, don't play it, don't play the Saphira, don't play the Saphira.
It was the score was 1-1. The loser is just gets knocked into losers bracket and no longer gets to stay in the winners bracket for the final week of SVO. And we don't see how many times the Saphira has been boosted by the artifacts that have died. And all we know is that the Saphira is like one of the last cards in his hand, and it's like this for turn after turn after turn. And the entire time for like a solid 3 minutes straight, our fingers are just crossed. We're just like, oh please, please don't kill him, please don't kill him. And the zero fine got there, the Saphira was not able to do it. Oh, it was great. I loved it. So on to what everyone probably came here for. We got spoilers, Aka. We got spoilers galore.
Got a lot of but let me tell you, we mentioned 97 cards. I built the other sets in Cockatrice. This does not feel like 97 cards. I haven't counted them all, but the amount of tokens, the amount of choice cards, the amount of like 3 cards for 1 that you get in this expansion. Oh my, I'm not sure if they're counting those cards. Probably are, but it feels like there's a lot of cards, and they're all very exciting and good to me, at least.
So many of these cards just seem like they seem awesome. They like if they're not like more interesting versions. Some of them are like interesting versions of older cards that we've had in the past, whether they're better or worse or just like a standard replacement. And some of them are just doing like really interesting things. And let's just get to the cards rather than talk about what some of these cards are doing. So for this first one, we can talk about. Let's talk about Grasshopper Conductor. How about that one? So we'll
This
start
is
we'll do what we usually do. We start with the forest cards, show our favoritism, and we'll work our way like down the natural chain of how the cards go. So I think it goes like forest, sword, etc., etc. So and we'll do bronze to legendary ordering as well. So Grasshopper Conductor is a 3 play point 2/1, and it's got fanfare. Put a random follower with X attack from your deck into your hand, where X equals the number of cards played this turn, including this card.
hello, Gobble Mage. You're back.
This is better than Goblin Mage, I think. It's
Yes.
got a worse stat line, but you can actually dig for what you want. If you want your Roach or you want your Insect Lord, just play it for 3. If you want your Yggdrasil, don't play other 2 drops with two power and just have it 2 to your Yggdrasil. If you want it to grab your Nekla, you just have it grab your Nekla. It's great. It does. Gobu Mage was only able to grab your 2 and 1 drops. This can grab anything.
However, do not forget that you cannot play Elephant and play the Grasshopper. You will have some conflicts with it. You cannot play May and Roach. I mean, you can, but know that the odds of getting Roach decrease if you play cards like May, cards like Elephant, cards like Insect Lord, actually, which is very popular at the moment.
But
So
you can
Grasshopper, even though it feels really exciting, it's not draw Roach dot dot dot.
But you can have this pull your elephant though, which is pretty cool because elephant only has 1 power.
Hmm.
What the interaction that I'm most interested about this card, and I don't think it's gonna work the way I want it to, is if you have no targets in your deck, but you happen to have a fairy dragon which has 0 power. I wonder if this will tutor your fairy dragon. I don't think it will, but I still wonder.
According to Jabberwock, and trust me, if there's something about Jabberwock mechanics, I know it all because I play that card a lot. And if there's no available target in your deck, it will not activate. I know this because I've tried to kill my own Zeuses and my own Bahamets, hopefully to get more Zeuses and Bahamets, and it just didn't anything because it didn't detect that I had more costly cards than 10, obviously.
Yeah. So I'm interested in this one. I think this is really going to be a staple in like a lot of Forest decks moving forward. I think it just like does a lot of the things Forest wants to do. You can bounce this and get more cards. Just I think it's just
It's
fantastic.
it's also another cycler, like right cards like Baphomet, Goblin Mage. They were Witch of Sweets. They were very popular for a specific meta when Wonderlands popped up. A lot of mid range decks were showing their faces, and when you're having a mid range battle, you want to get value. You want your cards to recycle themselves and generate a lot more resources, and being able to specific tutor wherever you want if you build your deck a certain way. That's also another big factor for this card that's exciting is that for a player like me, the brewing season is the most exciting. You will have to build your deck specifically for this card. So you want to maximize the amount of X attack that you have in your deck, so that you can pull different cards across the entire of the game.
So, Nipper in chat is saying that this won't grab your fairy dragons. I think he's right. I'm a little sad about that, but regardless, this is going to be a good one. So you want to move on to this next one? We have Forest Whispers. I also think this is a pretty. I made a very bold claim at the start of last expansion when what's it called? When Fall from Grace came out, I said I think this is going to be one of the more impactful cards, not because Fall from Grace was a particularly powerful card, but just because it was a neutral way to transform cards, and I thought that that was going to give us more of like that was more of a to set the tone that we're going to get more transform effects moving forward. And I think that's what Forest Whispers is another powerful transform effect. And I think this is just solid removal.
I think it's better than Fall from Grace in a lot of ways, obviously, but it's also in the perfect class, right? You think of cards like Lily, you think of cards like you think of cards like Lily. You can think about cards like with the Brambles, like transforming something into a one defense. Woodkin Curse is something that comes to mind. I think it's Woodkin Curse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Transforms the health to one defense. It's just a perfect setting for this class where it shines in dealing one damage or two damage. So
Yeah,
making that big body into a 1/1, and it's transform. It's probably the best removal effect in the entire game. Some cards are not banished, some cards are not destroyed. Transforming them just denies all that. It removes last words. It removes effects like Beauty and the Beast, or effects like this card cannot be targeted by spells. So I really like that.
Forest was one of
Well,
the.
actually,
Mhm.
sorry, this does not activate on immune to spell because it's a target spell, right? Or is it random? I think
Uh,
it's targeted.
it's targeted, but this can hit something like a Beauty and the Beast though.
Yeah. Mhm.
What I find, what I like about this card is that, as far as Fall from Grace went, there really weren't too many classes that played that card, but Forest was one of them. And if you think about it, Fall from Grace actually isn't that great in Forest because it summons a 1/3 for your opponent, and fairies don't trade well into 1/3s at all. Whereas this Forest Whispers, you can have a Wood of Brambles already set up. You just get a free trade on that fairy. Or you can just have a like a lilac that's already been popped. You've already used the effect on the lilac, and your lilac can like free trade into the fairy, or your Cybele can free trade into the fairy. Or your small little like dinky followers can trade into the whatever you make.
Mhm. Also, a good note is that it doesn't transform anything else in followers, like Nemesis mentioned. That is the difference from Fall from Grace, because Fall from Grace can deal with tilting at the windfalls, for instance, and this just doesn't.
Yeah, I think that that ends up being pretty impactful because I think I think we might be moving forward into like a more amulet focused expansion
Oh
because
hell yeah!
they've been trying to push that like these amulets for a bit, and that
Uh,
Bahamut change they said specifically in the Bahamut change we want to see more amulets.
exactly, yeah. They felt that the amulets were not a thing because of Bahamut. Now they realize that the amulets are not a thing. It's not because of Bahamut. It's because the amulets just do not or are not good enough. So now they realize that after the Bahamut change, amulets were still not being played. They realized, oh, maybe we're lacking something. We want to push amulets, and it's good on them because it's very creative. I've never seen cards like amulets in board like games like these, where they actually take a slot, which is very important in games like Shadowverse, especially because you only have 5 slots. You're committing a lot to that card, so you need to have a lot of impact or a lot of value in cards like amulets.
Yeah, the fact that they just stay on the board forever, like sometimes you can have like two Venuses and you don't want to play the second Harvest Festival because eventually it'll start clogging your hand and your board just too much. And there's no way to get rid of them once they're on your side of the field. So let's move on to this next card. We have Paula Icy Warmth. This card has a weird name because I don't understand how ice is warm. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
I burned myself with dry ice before, I guess, but
I was typing it on I had to see multiple times. I was typing the card on cockatrice. I had to see multiple times because both her and the second half are warmth, and one is fiery warmth, I think, or fiery passion,
What?
and it got me confused for a while. I'm like, am I talking about the evolved one? Am I talking about the choose one? Am I talking about the normal one? Because it's there's a lot of warmth in this card.
Yes. So there, Paula Icy Warmth is a two play point 2/2, and it says, if at least two other cards are played this turn and you have at least two play points, choose. Play this card as either Paula Gentle Warmth or Paula Passionate Warmth. So Paula Gentle Warmth is a two play point 2/2 with fanfare. Return an allied follower or amulet to your hand. So it's like a dungeon crawl fairy. And then on the other side, it's Paula Passionate Warmth, which is fanfare, deal one damage to an enemy follower, which is like an Angel of the Word or Illyrial type effect. And I'm interested about this card because this is like Forest always has so many powerful two play point 2/2s, and this is just an I think this is just another one that they get, and it has two pretty relevant effects, and I'm curious to see if this is going to be good enough.
Yeah, the bounce effect is quite interesting to me. The one damage, the first time I read the card, I thought it was because it was mistranslated as dealing one damage to every follower. That got me really excited. But on the other hand, because it's like what Forrest uh has been doing lately is to have these sort of effects that come from sorceries and spells in bodies. We had Cassiopeia, we had I'm forgetting the Insect Lord. So effects like that sticking to a body are very interesting. This Bing one is we've seen it before, so it doesn't excite me as much. As for the bounce one, that is really cool. It's one of the first times that we have a bounce effect in such a well-statted follower because she's a two play point 2/2, but she also gives you the bounce, which can be really important in those grindy matchups or the burst OTK combos.
Now, I don't remember, was Dungeon Crawl Fairy able to return amulets as well, or was it only followers?
I believe it was only followers, and she was a 2/1 for 2, I believe,
What?
if I'm
What?
not mistaken.
No, she was a 2/2 for 2, I believe, the Dungeon Crawl Fairy.
Oh,
Um, what
interesting.
what I find pretty neat about the bounce effect is, what's it called? The one play point amulet. It's like Fairy Circle, but it's not Fairy Circle. Fire Sprite Grove.
It,
So you can bounce your
yes.
Fire Sprite Grove, get it back, and you still get the one damage ping on it. So it's like you get both effects.
Yeah.
So,
But what I don't like about it, and you mentioned on the pre-show that Balanas is a very good card. This is what I don't like about Paula too much for the second half is that the passionate warmth is that Balanas can be played on two.
mhm.
Paula, if you want to get her effect, cannot be played on two, and that is very relevant when you want to build a tempo game. So I think, unfortunately, and I don't want to say this too much, but the choice mechanic here is not really a big choice to me most of the times. When you have in 90% of the times you'll be choosing something, that's not what excites me. I want to have very different choices and two impactful choices.
Well, what if I were to tell you how powerful does this sound? Because I don't think this is the most powerful sounding turn, but it's not bad either. You can play something like your Grasshopper Conductor. You can play like a fairy. Then you can Paula back your Grasshopper Conductor, and you can just keep cycling through. It's not incredible, but it's a good way to like dig through your deck.
But that's the thing, you're putting so much effort into bouncing. When you mentioned this card's like a dungeon crawler fairy, and I just updated myself, and you can bounce amulet as well.
Oh, it
So
was able to hit amulets.
you had access to this effect, and you didn't use it. My problem is that you have to play two other cards, and it doesn't seem fair to me. I might just allow me to choose instead of having to play two cards and then get the bounce effect.
Forest always gets those like you got to play two cards to get the effect, and those cards just usually don't get to make the cut, unfortunately. But I I'm hoping Paula can get there. I'm hoping the card is just flexible enough that it's able to do it. Because it
Now, if it did one AoE damage, oh yeah, I would play that.
oh yeah, when the card was first spoiled, that's what it said. It said deal one damage to everything. But
That's what I wanted to play. I kind of still hoping it is like that, but
I don't
no,
think we're gonna
it's
see
not
that.
gonna be. That's not gonna be.
I think we're getting our Lyrial that can bounce, our Forest Lyrial that can bounce things.
Because think about it, there's May, right? May is so much easier to trigger. Uh,
But
yeah, Lyrial, but
May
they're not
isn't in
rotation,
rotation,
so yeah, 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 yeah.
and Lyrial and Angel of the Word, they're both rotating out. So we might find ourselves like there might be some sort of void where there just is no ways to deal this ping damage, and it might be able to get there. Well, we'll have to see. I'm curious. So the next card we have here is Swiftgate Okami. Swiftgate Okami is a 5 play point 4/4, and whenever you play another follower, give it Storm. Then return the follower to your hand. I guess at the end of your turn, whenever you play a follower, give it Storm, then return this follower to your hand. Wait, no, you
No,
return the
Okami.
Swiftgate
Yeah,
Okami to your hand.
yeah, you return Okami. That's when I read this card. I read it in French. I thought it was the end of your turn. Return the follower that you gave Storm to.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought this
this,
thing did too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too. I actually think it was what it said in French, but no, my French is not 100%. So
I
all
seem
good.
to remember reading a translation saying that it bounced the card that you played at the end of the turn as well. Like that's interesting. I was when I thought it bounced whatever you played at the end of your turn back to your hand, I was a little hesitant about it. Like I thought this is kind of like a bigger fairy driver, and like
Yeah.
and now this is just like it doesn't even seem all too great to me anymore.
hmm
I
I lost interest in this card because of that. I thought this is just a one shot, right? You play it and play something else, and then it bounces, and then you keep doing that. But it costs so much. If Forest had like a 4-1 or a 5-1, that's really cheap. Then that could work, but
I can see
it's
this
it's too expensive.
here's how this works. I can see this working in a format where we have more ways to reduce the cost of cards. We reduce the Swiftgate Okami just by a few play points. We slam this guy, then you slam your Deepwood Anomaly. You just get him.
It's a lot of work.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
maybe actually, if there's a way to give it ambush, then that's perfect.
yeah,
Oh no,
that'll
because
also
you
work.
cannot play followers. You can't play
You can
followers then.
play the
Well, you can
follower
you
next
can
turn. It's a two
yeah,
turn
exactly.
setup.
You can if there's a 2 play point spell that gets ambush, then that would
So where
yeah.
I'm at on this card is I don't expect this thing to be good. Maybe there's like one or two weird combo cards that just happen to synergize with this card, and there's a busted combo, but I don't expect that to
Not yet.
happen.
Not
Yeah,
yet. Yeah.
maybe in the expansion or two. Maybe those 17 cards that they make at the end of the expansion, maybe they just give us a 3 mana card that just takes any card in your hand and makes it free. You know, it's a little
Or
maybe a little
or
broken.
a 10-1. Maybe a 10-1 that costs 5.
Oh my god, that'd be huge. So, there are things that could make this effect relevant. I just don't think it's relevant right now. So the next card we got here is White Venara. And first of all, I gotta say thank you very much, Cygames. Months ago when there was the Dextravaganza, I was invited to play in. I got dressed up in a gorilla mask and I kept on talking about King Monkey. And here it is, another King Monkey. We got the White Verana or Venara. It is a 6 play point 5/5 and it's got Ward. But if this follower's attack or defense is increased by a spell or effect during your turn, you get to evolve it. And that's pretty cool. The thing that gets me about this card is the cards that can give it stats aren't that cheap. There aren't too many. There's like what's it called? There's the Furious Elder
Elf
Weedman.
Song.
But Elf
Elf Song.
costs 4 unless you have free
Yeah.
cards. So that's a 10
Well, not if
or,
you have to play Vanara first,
yeah,
right?
so you
So
can go
that's
Venara,
at least yeah.
And
And
a
then a
fairy
fairy,
and then
and
Elf
then Elf
Song.
Song. Yeah.
So you have a 6/6 for 9 with Storm. Is that great? I mean, it's good. I don't know how great it is. Um,
Mhm.
I don't want to count this card out yet, but right now I'm a little unimpressed by it. I think if they're if they make more buff spells, this can get better though.
I'll tell you what, though. This to me, this does not feel like a storm card in the mid game. It's just like it feels like monkeys, right? I
Hmm.
play monkeys on my Temple Forest deck. They are very good to slam on 5, just because they have really good stats and they have a ward which protects your small followers, and that allows you to build damage and build this wide board state. And also it works as a finisher. So to me, this card seems like it literally feels to me like the monkeys that we have at the moment. It's just a solid card to play on 6 and protect your small forwards, and then it just gives you that extra option of finishing the game. Playing a 3 off, probably not. I did play the monkeys as 3 off, but I think it has a space, especially because monkeys are rotating monkeys.
Jungle Warden's still around for one full expansion.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That
sure.
oh,
Jungle Warden stays around for a bit, and the thing
interesting.
the thing is about Jungle Warden is a strong standalone card. Like this is one of the things I've been saying about that card is a lot of the forest cards are like they're combo-y. You need something going on, whether it's something going on in your hand or something going on in the field, or just something you need something going on. With Jungle Warden, you could have no cards in hand, top deck it, and this card is gas, and it's always gas.
Yeah.
With White Venara, you need a buff. I don't know. Are you always gonna have it? And one of the things that also kind of confused me
Well,
about it.
you don't necessarily need a buff. You can evolve it straight up, evolve it, right?
Oh yeah, that works. I didn't think about that one
You can
actually.
evolve. Yeah, that's what my reasoning was. You can evolve. It's like Felice. You can evolve face
I
that extra damage.
I actually straight up didn't realize you can just evolve this guy to give it Storm.
You forgot the mechanic of the game that allows you to evolve cards.
Yeah, no, actually
Oh,
with Aaron,
I'm
with
kidding.
with Aaron, this gets much better. No, okay, so but even so, like it's still kind of I don't want to.
No,
I
it's not perfect, but yeah.
and what's it called? So Spring Green Protection and what's it called? The 3 mana one, the 1/4. They give the buff at the end of the turn, so you can like
Yeah,
halfway get there, but then you can't use it. So it's like,
yeah,
oh, we almost had it.
that's what I don't like. I would like to see be it like a 5 play point or five something that actually increases stats when it evolves, because those end of the turn effects will matter for like will give you nothing. In fact, it will be an hindrance because your opponent will have access to cards like Soul Squasher or Purifier Bullet in Arena or Take Two. So well, that rotated. Never mind, but evolve effects will not be valuable to you in that sense if you have it at the end of your turn effects.
This card is pretty good with Rain, because you can evolve the Rain, give this thing Storm. Um, I think this card is going to get more support as
Oh
time goes
wait,
on.
that's a good point. You buff it and give it storm. That is good.
Yeah, I think this card is gonna be getting more and more support as time goes on. I
Oh no,
don't.
it does because rain gives +1, right?
Yeah, because Rain gives +1 and 0, and then gives it Rush, and also makes it so that it can't take damage. But the +1 attack will just straight up evolve the Venara and give it Storm. So you can
Mm-hmm.
clear something with the Rain, and you can clear something with the Venara. Or you can just go face with the Venara. So let's go on to... I think that's all the forest cards that we're going to be talking about today. Let's move on to Sword. We have a Sword Bronze. We got Holy Bear Knight. This is a 2 play point 2/2 with Ward and Fanfare. Enhance 5, gain +2/+2. This is Novice Trooper. Or not Novice Trooper. Veteran Lancer.
Veteran
This
Lancer.
is a better Veteran Lancer. This thing is awesome.
I love the art, by the way. I don't appreciate art too many times, but when it's really good, you know what? An art for a card is really good when Aka mentions it, because that's the last thing I talk about. So it's such a nice, cute, strong bear, and at the same time, it's like you mentioned, it's the new veteran lancer with possibly an upside. To me, honestly doesn't feel that too much as an upside because enhancing not being a choice and choice being prevalent now. I don't know how many times I would like to pay 5 play points for a 4.
Well, the way that I see this is if that enhance effect is actually messing you up, can't you just play the cards in the other order most of the time? Not always, but most of the time. Sword sometimes does get itself into the situation though, where it does have all of these enhanced cards, and it just can't play its cards out normally the way it wants to. Another thing I want to point out actually is a lot of Sword's enhanced cards enhance on 6, and this one enhances on 5.
Mhm. There's also the Chancellor. There's a sword card that promotes you using enhance effects.
Noble Chancellor,
And
yeah.
I've seen that pop up a little bit. It's a 2/2 for 2, I believe, and you
Mhm.
get a extra play point when you use an enhance effect.
It's a commander
So
too.
that might exactly that might there's also King Arthur pulling this one, so it's definitely an exciting card for Swordcraft.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be a pretty good card. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
very
gonna
stable.
be, I don't know if it's gonna be like breaking down any crazy doors, but I think it's gonna find its way into a lot of sword decks.
Possibly all of them, actually.
All right. So next up we have Valse, Magical Marksman. Now, Valse is a 3 play point 2/2 with fanfare. Choose put either a Holy Pure Bomb or a Fatal Spell Bomb into your hands. Now, Holy Pure Bomb is a 5 play point spell with banish an enemy follower or amulet. So it's like a lightning blast. It's actually better than lightning blast because it's 1 play point
Yes.
cheaper. And then there's Fatal Spell Bomb, which is 1 play point, destroy an enemy follower with 3 damage or less. So it's like a black inscriptor that doesn't vanish, or
Let me tell you,
a big knuckle
I am
bodyguard.
so excited for this card. This card to me is where I want to be. Unfortunately, this is a Warcraft card, so that's the only thing I don't like about it. But this is so cool. Like when have you had those matches where you wish you had access to three holy lights, not holy lights, three dance of deaths or three pure annihilation? No, it's not. Uh, Acolyte Slide, where you wish you had three Acolyte Slide or three Dances of Death. You're facing this dragon deck. He has a lot of big bombs. You're playing against this Aven deck, has a lot of big bodies, and you just wish you had that extra destroy spells in your deck. On the other hand, sometimes you're playing a tempo matchup or you're playing against an aggro deck, and you need that cheap removal spell that will allow you to kill a 3 drop actually. So this is really exciting to me. This feels like you're having a side role inside your own game. You're choosing whichever option fits the matchup the best.
I think this is the closest we're going to be getting to Big Knuckle Bodyguard for at least another expansion or two. Because this you can play it on turn 4, get the Fatal Spell Bomb, destroy something with 3 power or less, which is what Big Knuckle did. And then instead of getting a 3/4, you get a 2/2, but you can't win everything, you know.
That just shows how much Big Knuckle was.
Big Knuckle was the best card in the universe, and you can't convince me otherwise. Yeah, I like this card. I like there's like the off chance that you're playing against like a reanimate shadow and they have like an awkward curve and they slam Zeus and you just banish their Zeus and they're like my entire game plan just fell apart.
Or Kawi.
Yeah. Oh, Cowboy rotates away, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, in every mode. So
Oh, that's true. That's true. You can play this in unlimited as well. So that's Valse. I think this is a pretty good card. I like it. So let's move on to Innocent Princess Prim. This is a Swordcraft Commander gold card, 2 play point 1/3 with ambush, and it's also got fanfare and hands 8, gain +3/+3, and put a Nonja Silent Maid into your hand and change its cost to 0. Now I forget what Nonja Silent Maid does. Do you remember what that one does?
Nonja Silent Maid is a 2/3 ward for 3 play points, and if you have a commander, she gains Bane.
So that's, I mean, so if you have a commander, she gains Bane. So right off the bat, the thing
Yes.
gets Bane because this is a commander, and then
hmm
I think just a two. I think this is a really interesting card. It's a 2 play point 1/3, which is, I mean, it doesn't get the stats like Bladed Hedgehog gets, but you played with enough Bladed Hedgehogs. You know the 1/3 stat line is good. You played against Urias enough to know it's just a good stat line. And the fact that it has ambush and is a commander, you can just keep that commander tag on the field all game long, starting from turn 2, and never lose it.
Yeah. The static commander effect is very valuable. When you think you're activating all your effects, you can activate Nonja, obviously, because Nonja is actually going to be a real card too. So you can curve into Nonja, or you could activate your Centaur Vanguard for those aggressive decks, or you could have it's kind of like the Royal Banner, right? Royal Banner was very popular for the Swordcraft decks. We can even see the reuse of that 1/1 Gain Storm follower, the silver one that I forgot. It has Bane and Storm if you have a commander. So there's a
Assassin,
lot of
ruthless
possibilities.
assassin.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. So there will be a lot of possibilities with this card. Centaur Vanguard. We saw Perseus, the commander tag was very important for a while, and now we see it again.
E- Every time we see commander printed on a low cost card, I think that's just something worth looking at, regardless of if the card looks incredible or not. Just commander is a good tag. And this isn't a bad card to pull off your Arthur. It's got ambush. So it protects itself when you get it off your Arthur. You can grab this thing. You can grab a Kahulin. You can grab your the Holy Bear Knight. Like you have a pretty good package to grab with your Arthur right now.
Yeah, and also, yeah, it comes with ambush because ambush is not part of the fanfare. It's part of the static card, so she will have ambush. If Arthur pulls it.
Oh,
Also, this is a very interesting threat, like 4/6 for with ambush, 4/6 ambush, and then you get the Nonja. It will just increase the chances. So you spending 8 play points for believe it's nine nine stats in defense. So that would be 6 plus 3. Yeah, that's 9 defense, and that would be 2 and 4. That's 6 attack and 9 defensive stats on turn 8, which by itself is not that bad. It's a commander. You have a ward. You have a bane unit on the board. So the 8 enhance is not as bad as you think it is. She's like a 4/6, is kind of like an Hyperia-ish
mm-hmm.
card
and
that comes with a ward, a natural ward. So I
and
think this will be played. It reinforces the mechanic of the class, which I'm a fan of. I want the trait of commander to be played a lot more, so I really like it.
and keep in mind we're losing Albert, right? So with the loss of Albert, we're kind of Sword is kind of looking for ways to get that cheap damage in, or not cheap damage in, but just like kind of unavoidable damage in. And since it has ambush, and since it comes down on turn 8, it's actually attacking for 3 the same turn Albert would. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
you're preemptively getting that Albert swing on turn 8. You're paying
four
for that.
actually. It's 4 attack
It's 4 attack
on the
gain.
turn.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
it's 4 attack. Gain +3 +3, and it's not easy to. You can even save her on the board. Start buffing her. That's also something interesting you can be doing.
Yeah, as a 3.
You can set up your. You can set up a wolf raid actually, which is also very interesting.
Yeah, and like as a 4/6, like what removes that? You need 3 PDK snipes to get rid of that. Reach of the Arc Demon hasn't removed a card since like 1827. Like, so I don't know. Like this is hard to get off the board once you get it there. Haven's losing Tribunal, so I don't know.
Necro Assassin, Lurching Corpse are also rotating. So
Yeah, and Cowie.
ambush is becoming very powerful in rotation. And thank God they didn't print a lot of ambush units. Otherwise, I'll be like flipping out.
Alright, so I think this one's. I think Prim is a good one. So let's move on to as you call it, waifu Albert. We have Sky Commander Celia.
And speaking of this card, now I can mention that Nonja will become a zero cost card with the previous card, which means it could. The zero cost cards always excite me because it's combo potential. You can save the zero cost card. You have the Prim hitting for 4. You play the zero cost card Nonja, and you play the Celia, this card, and you do a total of on those cards alone. You do a total of 8 damage with that combo.
Now, I remember like the day that this card got spoiled, I saw some people saying like that this thing looks unimpressive and that it doesn't look good. I don't
No,
I don't understand why people would say that. This
yeah,
card is a 2 play.22, absolutely premium stats, just flat off the bat. A 2 play.22 at worst is a good card. Um and then on top of it, your 2 drop can be used as a 5 drop, and not only it's used as a 5 drop, it's used as the best 5 drop for this turn. Is it my aggressive? Am I beating face with this card, or am I going to try and build up a board? Whichever one is more important is the one that I can do.
yeah. 4/6 on turn 5 is has a really good stat line. Remember Albert. Sometimes evolving Albert is really hard to deal with. Also, the combinations you can do with it is really insane. Like bouncing your own sword units could be. You could bounce that Kuhulin. You could bounce the Lancer Tempest. You could Tempest Lancer, or I don't know the name.
Lancer of the
You could
Tempest
bounce. Yeah, you could bounce in Unlimited. You could bounce your Quick Blader for extra damage. Your Centaur Vanguard. This is a commander. You could
is
play your Centaur Vanguard and bounce it and replay it again.
is
So
Quick Blader
there's a
rotating
lot of
away?
potential out there. Quick Blader is a basic, so it's never
So he's
rotating.
still around. So you can just go like
Yeah,
Quick Blader Celia and get your Quick Bladers
yeah,
back. Like that's
yep.
sick. And then so we're losing Albert, right? But when you play Celia as Celia Despair's Messenger, it costs 5 play points, and then it's 2/4, and then Storm. Fanfare, gain plus 1 and 0 for each allied follower in play, then return the followers to your hand. So it doesn't quite work like Albert, but if you make it to turn 10, now that's not turn 9. Turn 9 ends the game much faster than turn 10 does. But if you make it to turn 10 and you have 2 Celias in your hand, you can play like a Nonja if you have the 0 cost Nonja. And then you can play your Celia as a 2/4 or bounce whatever you have on the field, so it might be even bigger. Go face with that, and then you get to bounce the one Celia back with your other Celia, and that's a 3/4 attacker, which is what Albert was. Albert was a 3/5.
That was my first impression. Is that I immediately, of course, compared it to Albert when I saw it. I'm like, oh, this is not too bad. You can still do the same explosive effect on turn 10 with 2 Celias, but you have all the other options in the mid game. You have the floral fencer, which we are not talking about too much, but it's also very impressive, right? You do not need to evolve on 5 to get the floral fencer effect. So you get a shield guardian and then heavy knight
I
without evolving the Celia.
Wait, a shield guardian. Is a shield guardian the? Oh no, I'm thinking of heart guardian. I'm thinking of the one from
No,
Council of Card Knights.
shield guardian is the white paladin token.
So
It's
it's a
the
1/1. So this is even
yes,
it's even better than a floral fencer because it protects itself.
and yeah, and heavy knight is the 1/2. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. No, that could be the 2/2. Wait, I
And
actually need to see this one.
and this evolves into a 4/6 as opposed to floral fencer evolving into a
Yeah,
four
shield
five
guardian is 1/1. Yeah, shield guardian is the 1/1,
with ward.
and with ward, yes, and heavy knight I
Is the
think
one
is
two.
2 without ward.
Yeah, it's just a 1/2. Yeah, this is a good card. It's so flexible. It does so many things.
Yeah, 1/2 without ward. So yeah, would also like this is just a card. This is one card that allows you to do all. And again, choices really important this expansion, and you just are adding to your swordcraft deck the possibilities. Even aggro decks, like when were aggro decks going really wide or being able to protect themselves with small wards? Celia just allows you to push that extra damage or gain that ward state.
Yeah, and this if you I'm still really interested. We're seeing a lot of commanders getting printed this expansion so far. Are we seeing a good amount of those? This is the last expansion Gawain is going to be around. I really hope that card gets there because that card to me has always looked good, and I think with all these commanders, that sword might be getting it might get there. That card might finally be able to do
Yeah,
something.
you can bounce your Juliet, you can bounce your Centaur Vanguards again, your Players, yeah, all the good stuff.
All right, so we've been talking about sword for quite a bit. Let's move on to a rune now. First rune card I want to talk about is Witch of Foresight. I think this is a pretty awesome one. This is a 2 play point 1/2, and it's got fanfare. Put a random spell from your deck into your hand. So to me, the first card I think of when I see this is like Dragon Summoner. It's a 2 play point 1/2, and it takes a relevant card from my deck and puts it into my hand.
It's more interesting to me because usually spells have more impact, especially on a class like Runecraft. When you pull a Dragoncraft follower, yeah, it's good and all, but it doesn't impact the game as the spell boost mechanic does. So when you guarantee that you get that spell that you need, you're spell boosting, you're activating all your trait from the class you're playing, and also you making more impact in the game because spells, since they're not producing bodies, they're usually very impactful tempo wise.
So I wonder, like, what are you trying to grab with something like this? Like grabbing
Uh,
uh,
Piercing Rune is my first impression.
Piercing
My
Rune is
first thought
rotating
is,
away.
yeah, I know.
Um,
But other than that, because you have to expect playing this on the early game, and on the early game, there's not a lot of spells you're interested in drawing. There's also,
Mysterian
Chain of
Knowledge
Calling,
wouldn't be
Mysterious
bad.
Knowledge, Insight, which is more cycling, more spell boost.
So it becomes like if you grab an insight, it becomes like a 3 play point 1/2 that draws you a card and it spell boosts everything once, which isn't it's not bad. And yeah, I don't know. I think this card it's good. It's a cheap body, puts something on the field, fights for board a little bit, and it's like you never played anything because you draw one of your spells.
Concentration, that's a good point as well.
Hmm.
You curves into concentration.
Um. All right. So let's talk about this one over here. I actually think we might have said we weren't going to talk about this one, but here we are now. We have Beast-Faced Mage. Um, this is kind of a boring one. This is a 2 play point 2/2 with Clash. Put an Earth Essence into your hand. So the first card I think of is Dwarf Alchemist. So Dwarf Alchemist is rotating away. So if you're like you really need your Earth Sigils, I guess you can like play this. But you already have what's it called? You already have Silent Lab. And Silent Lab puts the sigil onto the field. Like, this doesn't give you the sigil immediately. You have to clash. You have to evolve to get it if you want the sigil that turn. And like the
I
only
love the way you said, if you really need your sigils.
it's like I'm trying to make the I'm trying to when I first read this card, I didn't realize it said clash. I thought it said fanfare, and I thought, all right, I guess this is like it's all right compared to Dwarf Alchemist. Like it
There's one upside for Dwarf Alchemist,
it
is
gets
that if it survives and your opponent attacks into it, you get 2 hurt sigils,
no.
double the value.
There's two upsides. There's two upsides, Akka. Did you know that Dwarf Alchemist evolves into a 3/3 and Beast-Faced Mage evolves into a 4/4?
Yeah, but Dwarf Alchemist draws you a card. That is really important. I would trade 1/1 for a draw card.
What?
Hell yeah.
Whoa! What are you talking? You're trying to say Beast-Faced Mage doesn't draw you a card? So you play it as a 2/2, you evolve it, you crash it into that 3/2, right? So you just drew an Earth Essence, and now the next time they attack into it, you draw another Earth Essence.
I'm gonna ask you, would you rather draw a Levi or a Nerd Sigil?
I'd rather not have this card in my deck. So let's move on to the next one. I don't I don't think there's like too
There's a
much to say
place
about this
there.
one.
Okay, there is a place where this card might shine. That would be Take Two, because in Take Two, you obviously don't want to be drafting sigils for your deck, but getting sigils this way is kind of nice. It's not silver like Dwarf Alchemist, so.
I could imagine this thing in like 2 expansions when all the other good like sigil cards are gone. Like maybe we gotta play this one, but like that's about it.
I get an idea. Switch the archetype.
Just play a totally different deck. Alright, so this one is much less underwhelming than Beast-Faced Mage. This is Mysterian Wormist, also a 2 play point 2/2. So it's got, if you have at least 6 play points in play, play this card as either a Mysterian White Worm or a Mysterian Black Worm. And let me get these up on the screen real quick.
Let me tell you real quick while we set up. Mysterian White Worm. People who haven't seen that card yet, go see it. It's god beautiful.
I'm gonna
It's
have
fantastic.
I'm gonna have this art on the screen as soon as I
Oh
can.
yes, it's my favorite art of the set as of now, as of yet. What I've seen.
Alright, here we
It's
go.
this majestic city, and when you evolve it, the city lights go all up, and is just on top of the city, and it's just this beautiful white majestic beast. I just love it. Yeah, there we go. Look at that.
Look at that.
It's so beautiful.
So,
It's not a city, it's actually a mountain. My bad. But
so
the mountain goes alight when you evolve it. It's so cool. And he opens his eyes.
I'm on the other side of the fence than Akka. I actually think the Black Worm has nicer art than the White Worm does. But I think both sides of this card are awesome. So you get a 6 play point. So first of all, this is a 2 play point 2/2. I can't stress this enough. That is a good stat line. At worst, you have a playable card. So when you enhance it on 6, not really enhance, but so if you play it as a Mysterian White Worm or Mysterian Black Worm, you get either a 5/6 for 6 or a 6/5 for 5. The White Worm will put a Mysterian Circle into your hand and then give all of the Mysterian spells in your hand the effect of draw a card as well as what it does on top of it, or as well as what it had already done. Mysterian Black Worm will give you Mysterian Missile and give all the cards in your hand deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. All the Mysterian cards in your hand deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. So that missile that you're getting does 2 damage to face rather than the 1 damage to face. So I think like Piercing Rune is going away, so this is kind of like a Piercing Rune in a way. I think about Mysteria, that card she herself. Like you can imagine having a Mysteria, right? And then you play your Mysterian Black Worm. Now your Black Worm is doing 3 damage to face and 4 damage to one of the followers on the board. I think this is just a solid card.
I would go even further. I'm gonna say this is the best card has this expansion. This card is insane. So you have two very different game plans, and they excel at both. So you have the control game plan. You transform every single Mysterian spell you have becomes an insight for 0 play points. So you draw a card, you spell boost your cards, and you get the effect. That is for a control deck. That is beautiful. Transforming all your Mysterian circles, all your Mysterian knowledges, all your Mysterian missiles, everything becomes an insight for free. On the other hand, it gives you a Mysterian circle, not the knowledge, the circle. So you out of the gate can play a 2/2 to protect this 5/6. You do not need the 5/6 to survive to get the effect of the insight. That is insane. On the other hand, you have the aggressive plan. If playing a burn deck, every single Mysterian knowledge you have just becomes a Mysterian missile, deals 1 damage to your opponent. If you have Mysterian missiles out of there in your hand already, it also buffs that. If you have a Mysteria Arcanate, what's the name of her? The Mysteria Legendary card?
Oh,
Forgot the name.
Mysteria creator, founder of Magic. Mysteria
Founder of
founder of
Magic,
Magic.
thank you. If you have that one, you buff it even further. Every spell, mysterious spell you do deals 2, and then you have this one dealing extra damage. What I love about it is that it's not a static effect. You do not need the dragons to survive. You can just play them, and all of a sudden you just transform, add that bonus to every single mysterious spell you have. So this to me is one of the my favorite cards of this whole set because it's so different, it's so wide. It allows me to have different game plans as a control deck. Sometimes I need that extra reach, or I just love it. I think it will make me play Rune just because of this card.
This card is so well statted. On turn 2, it's a 2/2, which is premium. And then on turn 6, you get either a 5/6 or a 6/5, whichever fits the board state best. If you need the extra stat so that you need the extra HP so you can get over something and have it survive. If you need the extra attack so you can get over a different follower that has like an
And
extra HP. Like it
and
just Mhm.
also blows my mind. When was the last time you had a 6 play point follower with such a fantastic effect? The game break that evolves into a 7/8.
Yeah.
That
When
is massive.
how many 6 play point 5/6s are there in the game? I can't think of
I
too many of those. I
Yeah, especially with an effect. Hell no.
there's like that portal one I think that's like unplayable. It's like a bronze and it like puts a artifact
There's
from your deck into your hand.
Deus Ex is also quite beefy, but not as beefy as
She
this one, I
but she's
think.
got -1/-1. She's a 4/5. This has
Yeah, she,
+1/+1 to
yeah,
Deus Ex.
yeah, exactly.
You can evolve the black worm over an evolved Deus Ex and it survives, right? Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
the more
survives.
we talk about this card, the more excited I am because it also draws you a Mysterious Circle, puts a Mysterious Circle into your hand. So it's more spell boost, more spells, more mysterious spells. I think it's gonna be meta defining. Honestly, I've said this same phrase when I saw the owl. I said it was gonna define a meta,
Mm-hmm.
and it did. It replaced Levi. No one thought it was gonna replace Levi. I said that sometimes you could play this instead of Levi, and it gains you health because it allows your dish to come earlier. I think this will be meta defining. I think that you'll be looking at your 6 play point and your 6 play point follower and be looking like, do I have enough to kill that dragon? Is my 6 play point follower worth the putting in my deck? Do I go under that 6 play point or do I go above it and play hard removal spells?
You could be like, imagine being on the play against Dragon, right? They ramp once, and then they play a Sybil. And then you just play your Mysterian Black Worm, your Mysterian White Worm, and just evolve right over that. You have a massive body for them to deal with after that. And the Black Worm hits face for 8 on top of the extra 2 that the missile gives. That's half your HP in one card. Premium card. We're gonna beat this one into the ground if we keep talking about it. So as much as I
Yeah,
want to keep talking about it, let's move on to the
yeah.
next one.
Just meta defining is to the 2 words I have for it.
So we have Snowman King coming up next, coming in hot. And
Hell
then
yeah, baby! No
so,
man is coming back.
so the snowmen are coming back. Unfortunately, I don't think that means Suzume is coming back, but it
Aww.
feels dad man. But no, this card is awesome. So Snowman King is a 7 play point 2/3, and then every time you spell boost it, you get to summon either a Snow Knight or a Wild Snowman for every time it was spell boosted. So a Snow Knight is basically a novice trooper. It's a 2/2 with ward. and not Novice Trooper, Veteran Lancer. That's the second time I've done that today. And the Wild Snowman is a 2 play point 1/3 with Storm.
It's very good.
So you
Like,
compared this one to Ektar not too long ago.
yes, yes, because well, Hector has two. So when you look at it, it's 4 attack, right, and
Hmm.
4 health. These could be, my friend. Let me do some math for you. This could be 4 attack, right, 12 health. You heard it right, 12 health. I mean, this will prompt, I believe, again, will define a meta where AoE will start to be important. Because we have cards like, we'll talk about it later, but Water of the Megalorca seems to be really exciting. We just came from a meta where AoE lacked a lot. And now we're coming into a meta where if AoE doesn't step up its game, and cards like Force of the Dragon will pop up, this will be really strong. Like, 7 play points. You could play 4 snowmans, 2/2 wards. We all know how annoying it is to play against White Paladin buffed by Mars, right?
Hmm.
Well, we're looking at it for just 7 play points. Or the only hard part is to actually spell boost it. Since it's a 7 play point follower, you have enough time. However, you don't want to keep a 7 play point on your mulligan unless it's your whole game plan.
And,
4 damage as well. Actar sometimes doesn't deal 4 damage to your opponent, so I am really excited for this card.
well, you were
I'm so
saying
excited for Runegrafts.
even just like imagine you top deck this thing on turn 5, right? You only need to get 4 spell boosts. That's not that difficult. To get 4 spell boosts within its like even on a single turn, that's possible. If you top deck
Yeah,
this thing
when
on
you
turn
think about
6,
it, like Mysterious Knowledge is by itself just 2 cards. Golem Assault. I don't know if that one rotates actually, but
Golem Assault is I
Mysterious
think is
Knowledge.
around for 2 more expansions.
Okay, so we have Golem Assault, we have Mysterious Knowledge. I'm so interested in playing mid range for Runecraft. That's a sentence I didn't think I was gonna say for a long time, because doesn't this feel like Hector? This feels like semi finisher that has a lot of stickiness and board wideness, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the wild snowmen are just good at pushing face damage. They're good at cleaning up small followers. The
Yeah,
snow the snow
draining. Yeah,
This is a good thing. I don't think there's any like conjuring force type effect in the format though.
and let me talk to you about something. This comes after curves into after we talked about the white worm, right? This curves after the white worm. You can curve into this one. So your opponent has spent all the resources to deal with that big threat. Now you have a wide board and just deal with it.
Yeah, it really taxes their resources. And then like say you get all the wild snowmen, right? So some of the AoE in the format that's going to be in the format that I could think of, there's going to be the not so Breath of the Salamander replacement. What's that? Force of the Dragon Newt.
Force of the Dragon Newt.
That won't kill the wild snowmen. The wild snowmen are 1/3s.
Yep,
Um
yep.
Staff of Whirlwinds. I don't expect that to be
Maybe
a great card, but maybe that card ends up like getting
if
there.
again if mid range rune, I'm pushing that really hard from the start of the expansion. If mid range rune pushes this further, it goes this further, we might see Reach of the Archdemon making a comeback just because it deals 3 damage AoE.
Wait, it wasn't a comeback. It was never here. Another thing I want to say, like even now, like imagine if this card was around now. This thing can't be Sahagui Listerfield.
Yeah, and again, choices, right? Choices. You can just choose. Imagine if you're actor, you could choose Storm followers instead of Zombie, or you could choose Ward followers instead of 2/2s with Rush. Like, this is really cool to me. And the flavor, of course.
Yeah,
The flair of the card
I
is
I need to
they're so
hear what
cute.
all these snowmen say. Like their voice lines
Oh
is
yeah.
actually the I don't care about the expansion. I actually only care about the snowman voices.
We can go to Bagoom soon when they release the Shadowverse portal availability of all the cards. You can go to Bagoom and listen to them because I bet they'll have it.
All
Oh,
right.
it's chilly here.
Wow, it's
Oh, the
chilly.
Wild Snowman.
The
They probably have a pun, such a fun pun to go with it.
Oh, the King Snowman's got to have like some sort of royal thing to say about being cold. I can. It's gonna be great. So let's move on to this next one. We're beating these rune cards to the ground today. Let's talk about Rooney, Destiny's Bard. Um,
Oh my god.
this one's pretty sick. So Rooney is a 4 play point 2/3. With fanfare, choose put either a prophecy of boons or a prophecy of doom into your hand. Prophecy of Boons is a 2 play point, draw 2 cards, and if it's been spell boosted at least 5 times, recover 2 play points. So this is like a Fate's Hand on the one side, and then the other side is Prophecy of Doom, which is a 15 play point spell with give the enemy leader the following effect. At the end of your turn, deal 7 damage to your leader, and then every time you spell boost it, you reduce the cost of it. So it's like the Prophecy of Doom is kind of uh like what's it called, like a dimension shifty path to purgatory-ish like kind of win condition.
Mhm.
And then the Prophecy of Doom is, or Prophecy of Boons is just solid. I get to draw cards, and then
Yeah.
whenever the follower attacks, you spell boost the cards in your hand on top of it.
What gets me excited about this card is that throughout the game, because of the choice mechanic, throughout the game, it's always valuable and it gives you all these resources. It's good in the early game, it's good in the mid game, it's good in the late game. It allows you to draw extra cards for 2 play points, which is very good. On itself, it's very good. You don't even need to spell boost. You mentioned being a Fate Sand. Well, it's probably even better than a Fate Sand in the sense that you could just play 2 play points for it, right? Rather than having to spell boost it 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
So this into the snowmans is really cool. You can spell boost your snowmans. You can spell boost your inevitable finisher. You could even play the prophecy of doom on turn 10. Maybe it's just a 10 play point till 7. I mean, we played. There's Prince of Darkness, right? Prince of Darkness is it has a spell that deals 7. Well, it's not as broken as that spell, but sometimes it's just 10 play point deal 7. Make your opponent have to heal, or it just dies.
Guys, I know somebody is going to do it. When that person does do it, I need you to record it and tag me in it on Twitter at Sero, HSK Sero. When somebody just goes Rooney into Rooney into Rooney, just greed picks Doom, 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 and just gets all of them. Just like Prophecy of Doom, just all 3 of them one turn, just say, deal with it. Kill me now or you're taking 21. I want to see that happen so badly.
It will be. It will happen
Oh,
probably.
I mark my word. The tournament will be won within the next 3 months like that. So maybe not one, but at least a match on stream will be won like that. I want to believe. I'm probably wrong, but I want to believe. All right, so Rooney, we've talked about a bit. Let's move on to this one. This was a card that I think both you and I were pretty excited for. So this is called Somniferous White Worm. I saw somewhere else it was called Smug White Worm, and I like that name way better than Somniferous because I don't even know what Somniferous means. Um, so, so Somniferous White Worm is a 2 play point 2/1 with last words. Put a dragon's nest into your hands. Games, listen to us. So a few months ago, or it might have even been less than a few months ago, we've had like a string of 2 episodes in a row where we talked about how awesome amulets are and how much better they get when they're free or just stapled onto a card. This gives you Dragon's Nest. Dragon's Nest is a super good card. It gains you HP and it draws you a card just later on in the game. Unfortunately, it just wasn't good enough to stand on its own legs. This gives you a
Take a slot. Yeah, to take a slot from your deck. Yeah.
this gives you a solid body that you can like play in, I don't know, like PDK Dragon,
Mhm.
or you can just
I think
play it.
that was the first one I thought is that it's more gas for your PDK. It recycles itself. It's also 2/1. It's probably better status for that kind of deck than the Dragon Summoners. And like we mentioned, Dragon's Nest is a very cool card that allows you to cycle while healing and restoring health. And yeah, the unfortunate part is that Dragon is such a good deck that you don't want to spend 3 slots into, or even 2 into a Dragon's Nest that has no impact in the game.
And then on top of it, the Dragon's Nest gains you HP. Like that's HP is always relevant, and by the time you're in overflow, you've taken at least 2 damage usually. So you're probably going to be gaining HP from it. Like it just does all around good things,
It's also 1 play point, which is very easy to fill
Uh,
on your curve.
especially for Dragon to get 1 play point open by the time you hit overflow. That usually happens. So yeah, I like this one. I'm excited about this one. Um,
Thank you, Games, for listening to us. Even though if you didn't actively listen, at least your mindset is in the same place as ours, and we appreciate that.
so
Now, give us Flower Bed.
yeah, put Bloodfed Flower Bed on
There's
a
still a
card.
gold card. We still haven't seen the
There-
gold card
there-
and the silver card, so we might get that. Let's go.
I think there's still a bronze card too for us to see out of blood. So I
I
want
want flower bed.
we're gonna get a free flower bet. I want to believe. So another two play point card we have from Dragon. Um, it's hard to say if this one's better than Smug White Worm. This one's Waters of the Orca. This is a sick card, I think. So it's two play
Yes.
points, summon a Megalorca. Or four play points, summon two Megalorcas. Or six play points, summon three Megalorcas. Or four play points, summon or eight play points, summon four. Or 10, summon five. This does so many orcas. There are dolphins everywhere.
I am clapping for your reading skills. I would not be able to do that.
So
Someone mentioned that this is the card with the most amount of text in the entirety of the Shadowverse. Well, there's still
they,
Orcus coming,
the,
but yeah,
they've
it's
never
a lot
read
of
World
text.
Wheeler Ginger. Whoever said that has clearly never even seen that card. That card is
But
like
yeah,
longer than the average like
I
tomb.
am I am gonna predict that this meta is gonna push AoE really hard. I mean, this card seems simple enough because he has all that cute little dolphin jumping around, or orca, I guess. But when you see someone play 5/2/2s on your ass, you will be thinking twice. You'll be
Just
like, "Oh, they look so cute. Wait, what's happened? What happened?
y-
Where's my AoE? Where's my Bahamut?
you know how
No Bahamut. Bye
you,
bye."
you know how backbreaking like a zombie party is. Imagine just like when you can play around zombie party by not leaving something on the board, like to some extent. You can't play around this. You leave nothing on board, you just got 10 orcas on the field or five orcas on the field. Like, what are you gonna do about that? You
The
can
challenge will be to which one is the best mode, because there's so many modes and they all look the same, but different play points can matter a lot throughout the game.
I think
So
all the
it's gonna
modes
be
are gonna be
interesting.
good. Like even just going on turn 10, right? You go PDK Waters of the Orca. Two cards, you have a almost full board, and you just like nuke their field.
Yes. That's also something really interesting. We the most we had with PDK was two pings, right? Was two pings with a card. Now we get three pings with a card. Possibly even more if we have a PDK already settled, which can actually happen quite easy now that we don't have cards like Bahamut or we don't have cards like Revelation, right? That might happen, and we all of a sudden get all that control and tempo back.
Yeah, so uh, it's so flexible, and that's the thing. Like that, this is an expansion where cards are just being flexible. Like so, some of the cards have three modes. This card literally has five modes.
And people do not evaluate that often enough. They do not care about the flexibility of a card. We've both been playing in tournaments. We're not the ladder players. We want choices. We want flexibility. Flexibility has won me a lot of tournaments.
Hmm.
So this is something that people do not evaluate just because they don't have enough experience with how much flexibility is worth, because it's not printed in the card, right? It's not like, oh, this is zombie party, for instance. When you evaluate it, it's like, deals three, it's okay. Summon zombies, okay, it's expensive. But when you think about it, when you see it in action, you can easily develop a board, or you can just enhance it if you don't have enough resources. So that those two choices are very strong. And again, all the choices seem interesting to me. Like from two, like you mentioned, it's a good stat. It's a 2/2 for two, and from 2 to 10, they're all interesting to me.
Yeah, so we've we're beating this one into the ground. There's a lot to say about this card, but there's also like really not too much to say about the card. All it's doing is summon orcas, but it's a lot of
Hey,
orcas. It's a lot of
orcas,
orcas.
man, respect the orcas
Orca craft, it's coming.
and the snowman and the snowman. Respect the orcas and the snowman. Play your explosions now.
Player explosions. You heard it here first from Akamaru Red himself. All right, so this next card we got here is Heroic Dragon Slayer. I want your opinion on this one first. Let me just read what it says. This is a 2 play point 3/1 with fanfare. Transform a Dragoncraft card into your hand. Transform a Dragoncraft card in your hand into a Dragon's Handspur. And the Dragon's Handspur is 4 play points. Deal 3 damage to an enemy and draw a card if Overflow is active for you.
Definitely better than the other transform follower. I think they learned from that card that it wasn't very popular. You're transforming a possibly good card into a okay card that already exists. This, on the other hand, is a very strong card. It cycles itself. It deals 3 damage to an enemy, which is better than the Blazing Breath, of course. The only downside to me is that you put so much effort into building your deck, right? All the cards in your deck have to have impact. They have to matter for what you're doing. And changing, switching, transforming a dragon card for this one could be what you don't want to be doing. However, like we mentioned, flexibility. Sometimes in a certain matchup, a Blazing Breath is not good at all, so you can just evolve it and make it even better.
So I don't think there are all too many 2 play point 3 1s in the game. The ones I could think of are Boy Who Cried Wolf and the Scarecrow. No, Scarecrow is a 4-1, right? So I think it's just Boy Who Cried Wolf. Two pl-
Yes,
2 play point 3 1 is a stat line in this game that does not get much attention. And when it comes to like Magic the Gathering and when it comes to like drafting Magic the Gathering, I love having 3 1s because you turn them sideways and
trade up,
they beat hard. They hit face hard. The
trade up too.
yeah, they trade up. And then the Dragon's Handspur, the first time I read this, I didn't realize you can just go face with this thing.
Hmm.
It just says hit to an enemy, so you can just you hit him in the face for your hero, with your heroic Dragon Slayer for 3, and then later on you just cash in the Handspur for 3 damage to the face later on. That's good. So you get a demonic strike that draws a card. That's
Yep. And you can actually replace your dragon's nest that we mentioned before. If you're interested in being aggressive, you can transform your dragon's nest, or you can transform your blazing breaths or your force of the dragon newts
yeah,
if you need that extra damage.
yeah. You can take whatever card's just not good in the matchup and just transform it. That Goblin that's been around, not Goblin because that's a neutral card, but
It's
like
dragon dragon,
yeah,
yeah.
but that like low impact 2 drop that you drew later on in the game. Hey, now it's a pretty high impact demonic strike. That's also another card. I'm I want to live in a world where there are more 2 play point 3 1s. I like those. I'm
Also the art, like how badass can you be to take a selfie, I guess, while sitting on a dragon's nest with your sword stuck to his neck?
Could
Like,
you
come
imagine
on,
if the
look at the bow.
could you imagine if that sword wasn't like impaled into the dragon and he was just using it like a selfie stick, like holding his hand?
Oh, that would be side games level. They need to up their level of memeness in their cards because their Twitter has a lot of memes, but the cards, I mean, aside from Tart Man, they need to step up
Dude,
their meme.
I can't wait until we get to Tartman. Tartman is one of my favorite
Actually,
cards in the expansion. Let,
Twitch chat. Go to Twitter. I'll do that. Go to Twitter. Hashtag side games. I guess no Shadowverse game. Right? It's
Mhm.
Shadowverse or Shadowverse game. Tell them that heroic Dragon Slayer needs to be changed and make the sword a selfie stick.
And then say the podcast told you to do it. So let's go on to this next Dragoncraft legendary. We've got the Lindworm. Now, what is a Lindworm? Is that a thing? Is that like a thing in?
Uh, I don't think so. Worm. What's a lind? I don't know what lind means.
I don't know what. And
Yeah.
actually, I didn't realize. I
Worm.
thought it was spelled WYRM. This is just spelled like
Me
the
too.
regular worm. I didn't notice that until just now.
Me neither. And I made the card. Cockatrice.
All right, so we've got Lindworm, 10 play point 10/10. That's a big boy. And then it's got the effect. If you played at least 10 other non-follower cards this match, and you have 10 play points, play this as either a Virtuous Lindworm or an Inquitus. Inquidius?
Inquidus. Yeah,
Inquitus Lindworm.
Inquidus. Hmm?
So
From Inquisition, I believe.
Virtuous Lindworm is a 10 play point 10/10 with at the end of your turn, restore 5 defense to your leader and then draw 5 cards. Um that's sick.
That's a lot of
do,
control. That's a lot of control tools.
do you remember the Magic card Sphinx's Revelation?
Yes, that's the first card that I thought about because I'm actually playing Magic Arena and I have the new Sphinx follower. I guess that when you attack, you get effect. So that's immediately came to. This is why this expansion in overall and this card in particular, it's so cool. You can be playing it. You could play a control deck, right? You're used to, oh, I'm gonna draw my cards. I'm gonna heal my face. But all of a sudden, you have this aggressive win condition that I just love that.
Hold on, I gotta just say, Unspiraling in Twitch chat just says I'm envious of Tartman's legs, and that's got to be one of the best comments I've ever seen in Twitch chat.
Me too, man. Me too.
Me too. I wish I had Tartman's legs. All right, so the Inquidius, that one's so hard for me to pronounce.
Inquitus.
Inquitus
Inquitus.
Inquitus Lindworm. It's a 10 play point 10/10 with Storm. So
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember, but half your HP, that's a lot.
50% of the game is done. Let's go.
Yeah, so this thing can only attack the enemy leader, and it's also a king elephant because it ignores enemy followers' wards. Um, so there was a card that
Let
was.
me tell you.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, Psy Games, thank you. All right, you finally made a win condition that is not ridiculous. It's not an Aisha. It's not an elephant. It's not, I don't know what else. It's not a queen at the Dread Sea tilting at the windmills. This is, you need to build up. You need to set up this combo. You need to set up this win condition. You need to play your control deck. You need to stall the game. You need to heal yourself. And then, finally, that you survived all that long, you can finish the game. You
I,
mentioned Magic the Gathering. It feels like that. That's what Magic the Gathering control decks do, right? They just stall enough and then Sphinx of Revelation and win the game.
Now I am worried about one thing. If that clause is not that difficult to reach, where you have to cast 10 non-followers, right?
I doubt it.
I don't think that's. I think that's going to be kind of difficult to reach. But if it ends up not being that difficult to reach, there might be a really
Doubt it.
there might be like some degenerate deck that's just playing Worm God of the Skies. And Worm God of the Skies plus this is 20 damage to face. Just just work. It basically
But
works like White Wolf.
but I doubt it because you spend a turn to play your Worm Goddess, so that makes it so that you have 8 turns to play 10 spells.
Yeah.
So and if you pull that combo on turn 16 or 17, it's fine. Like you gave enough time for your opponent to actually kill you and develop the win condition.
If
I doubt. I don't remember a game where I played 10 spells with
if
my dragon deck. So first of all, you need to build your deck specifically to have the spells,
mhm.
and you need to survive. I do not remember a game where I played my 10 spells before turn 10 or 12 or
this
13. Yeah,
the Star
it's
Phoenix
very
deck.
like people are misjudging how expensive it is to play 10 cards. Like your deck has 40 cards, right?
Hmm.
So playing 10 spells, that means down to 30 cards, and they have to have all have been spells, which
And
is not easy to do.
yeah, and like some of the good spells are going away, like Draconic Fervor. Like we're getting some other ones, but we're losing Draconic Fervor. We're losing Breath of the Salamander. We're still keeping Blazing Breath. Um, but maybe something like this, like that card that gives you a Dragon's Handspur. Like imagine you're in a situation where early game, right? You have this Lindworm in your hand. You're like, man, this sucks. You can get rid of it and get a Handspur, and that Handspur will help you get to your Lindworm later on in the game.
Exactly.
So I I'm hopeful for this card because everyone.
Also,
I don't want to say everyone, but
uh,
there. Mhm.
okay, I now notice why they made the clause. Do you remember why you were asking like why did they change the clause for the enhance? I thought about Queen of the Dread Sea actually influences that because you can still play Lendworm without the enhance. You can still use it as 0 play points, but you don't get the effect. But you can still play the 10/10
Oh, so you
normal turn
can't
10.
use this with the Queen of the Dread Sea.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Side Games. Thank you so much. I think this is a cool, like, if this is a win condition that just straight up OTKs you but takes a while to do, I'm happy with that.
That's what I want to be.
Yeah,
I want to play a control deck that wins the game like this. I don't want to be beaten by weird combos on 10.
we like our powerful combos. We just don't like when we're getting killed by a Queen of the Dread Sea on turn 6, you know? This
Yes.
this is gonna take a while to get to. I can't imagine they're gonna have this any earlier than turn 10 or turn 11. And even that I think is gonna be kind of difficult to get to. So let's
Yeah,
move.
because now the spells that ramp you are only Oracle and the Roy spell. So you have to play your Ellas, your Sybil, which don't count for Linwood. So yeah.
All right, let's get on to this next one. We got Everdark Strix. We're moving into the shadow cards now. Everdark Strix is a pretty cool one. It's a 3 play point 3/2. Fanfare, Burial Rite. Put a random Shadowcraft follower from your deck into your hand. Whenever you perform Burial Rite, restore 1 defense to your leader. So right off the bat, this is 3 play point 3/2. Cycle a card in your hand and gain an HP.
I am a fan of cycling. It allows you to, again, give more flexibility to your whole deck. It activates the burial right, which is nice to push the necromancy and the reanimate archetype. This is a really good way to do it, kind of like the gloomy necromancer. It's another one of those, and you sometimes don't have enough, so you can kill your Zeus and get your followers, the followers that you need. The 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 necromancer. I forgot the name, but the shadow craft card for 8 play points. And yeah, it's just a solid overall card for a specific archetype, and I doubt that that archetype will not play this card. I think they will.
I'm glad we're getting more 3 play point 3/2s. Like the same thing as the 2 play point 3/1s. It's a stat line that we don't see too often, and I just like to see different stat lines. Like more cards in the game have more HP than they do have attack. So it's interesting that we're getting more of these. And like you said, just like Gloomy Necromancer was one of the only like pretty good burial rite activators. So now you just have another pretty good burial rite activator, and that's doubling the amount of pretty good burial rite activators you have. That makes that deck so much more consistent.
Mhm. There's also Staircase to Paradise. You actually can can play Staircase, and then you can play the Ever Dark Streaks and double Gloomy Necromancer on turn 4, and all of a sudden you're cycling really hard through and getting access to all the juicy cards you want.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty good one. Let's move on to this next one. We got Fickle Resurrector. Fickle Resurrector. I know you had mentioned some things about this. You sounded pretty excited about this one.
I
Is
defended this card so much.
So this is a 7 play point 5/5. If you have at least 6 shadows, fanfare, necromancy 6. Choose either summon a Spellplate Cavalier or a Bone Cavalier. A Spellplate Cavalier is a 2/4 with ward, and a Bone Cavalier is a 3/3 with drain. So you get a 5/5 with either a 2/4 ward or a 3/3 drain.
I'm a big fan of going wide with my mid-range decks. I'm a fan of creating multiple bodies, multiple well-statted bodies that allows me to outvalue my opponent. So when I look at Fickle Resurrector, that's a lot of value in a single card, which made me really excited. And well, it's not a Nectar, obviously, but it works in a different way. Nectar will not be able to heal you for 5. Nectar will not be able to protect you from the backswing. We actually had a problem nowadays. We have a problem with Shadow when we play against Tilting at the Windmills. There's not a good reliant ward. There's not a good stopping your opponent's combo with the Queen or anything else like that. The Aisha on the mirror. So just having the option of healing for 5 or just burst healing for 5 or burst like protecting you as a 4/6, it feels like a mini actor that you need to, but it just gives you more options than Nectar. You can even play both if you want to be extra greedy. People were comparing it to Hector. I like to compare it to Thane. Thane was a little bit nerfed. Well, we got Fickle Resurrector that helps with the defensive side of Thane.
This might be a little bit of a stretch, but the card that I think to compare this to is Death's Breath. This gives you a way to gain some HP or a way to ward up, which Shadow just doesn't have those anymore. Like you mentioned.
And that's why I like it. And we also have to bear in mind that, if, like it or not, in one expansion you will not have an Hector, so you need to find some other option. Might as well get your practice with this card. I believe people are just undervaluing it a lot. And cards that create two bodies with so many keywords like this is like being able to evolve two followers on your turn 7 is most of the times where you want it, especially if they are very well statted. Like 5/5 and 4/6, or 5/5 and 5/5 for 7 is very good to me.
All right, let's jump into this next one. We have Ceridwen, Eternity Hunter. Ceridwen Eternity Hunter is a 6 play point 4/5, and fanfare. Put either an Eternal Potion or an Instant Potion into your hand. And then it also has, whenever this follower attacks, recover 1 play point. Now that part kind of confused. I just think that's kind of weird. Like that feels so out of place to me. but the Eternal Potion is a 5 play point spell. Straight up reanimate 10. Enjoy your Zeus. Have fun. Instant Potion is a 1 play point. Deal 2 damage to an enemy follower, or Burial Rite, deal 5 damage instead.
The keyword of attacking to recover 1 play point is actually to promote the choice of instant potion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't get that effect, most players would not choose that one. Because obviously the first eternal potion looks so much more appealing to you, right? But instant potion allows you to get the tempo choice of evolving Karid when and just stilling the board state.
You can
So I
even
think that's why.
you can even play Ceridwen on 10 and evolve it, and then get your Eternal Potion on 10 too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's also a very good choice.
So
So it seems like a small detail of the card, but it's very important. It's gonna be very massive.
yeah, and then if it sticks, you're still recovering a play point every turn, and it's
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna stick or force your opponent to not make it stick.
yeah. I mean, it's I don't know, just recovering a play point is definitely a good thing. That's not a bad thing by any means, but just like it's so strange that the shadow card is just randomly recovering a play point. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can make it like a 5 play point if you're interested in those sorts of plays where you could actually play the potions in the same turn you play Carador.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of like an interesting way to gain play points to Shadow that they didn't have before. Also, something really interesting to notice is that we're getting a choice in a card that doesn't say choose. The instant potion, you can deal 2, or you can burial a right to deal 5. So you will have to promptly choose what to do with the card. That is interesting to me. Since they're adding the mechanic to the game, they have the technology to add mechanics to more cards, and hopefully in the future we will have a choice in the enhance effects.
So I think if you have the ability to activate Burial Rite, it's just automatically gonna activate the Burial Rite.
No,
You
I
sure?
don't think so.
Because I think that's how
Because
Burial Rite works right now. I imagine it's working like how Rocket Knuckle or whatever the name of that card is
so you'd have to have an empty end to.
to get the You'd have to have a hand with no followers to get the instant potion to do 2 damage.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
That's how I think that's how it works.
okay. Then this card became really worse. Then
Yeah. So
I don't
I
want to be spending. I don't want to be spending a card to. I don't know.
it's still a 1 mana deal too, and then it's got some form of upside. You don't have to take the instant potion. I could imagine
Yeah.
this being a pretty good card. It's just it does so many weird things, man. But it goes in the reanimate deck, and
Hmm.
yeah, it goes in the reanimate deck.
Oh, I thought you could choose Bakamaru bit.
All right, so let's move on to this next one. We're gonna move right into the blood cards now. We got Delirious
Yeah.
Demon, 5 play point 4/5. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers and your leader. Enhance 7, gain +0 and +1, and deal 1 additional damage to all enemy followers and your leader whenever this follower attacks.
This is one of the most exciting cards for me in terms of blood. A lot of people are not very interested in it. I am because I'm a fan of. Again, maybe I was noticing the meta a bit before everyone else, before the competition, and that might make me ahead of them because we're talking about all these Megalorca shenanigans, all the snowmans, and I'm here looking at my Delirious Demon, which, by the way, has the same cost as the Snowman King and completely shuts it down, at least one move. So, if you enhance it for 7, you deal 2 AoE damage, as well as dealing damage to yourself. Well, that might be bad, but we're activating Vengeance, and most importantly, we have cards like Lilith. We can recover 2 play points, meaning that the enhance effect was completely nullified. Or the Darky Stat, which is a card that I'm interested in, so obviously I will play this card.
So I look at this card and I see 5 mana 4/5, and then I think 5 mana 4/5 is a solid stat line. There was definitely a card called Sybil that had that stat line. Definitely got herself nerfed. This has This has a relevant effect for blood, where you're getting your what are you motioning with that?
This is the Whirlwind.
This is the
This is the
whirlwind.
Whirlwind effect. I thought you. I thought you pick it up,
It's
right?
a
Isn't the Whirlwind like?
yeah. When you click the hero power button, it just whirlwinds everything. Yeah, but like, imagine having a Jormungand active, and then you just enhance this guy, and you attack face with
Oh my
this.
god.
That's so much
Ooh.
damage, and it's just an instant board wipe. So this doesn't ramp you like Sybil does. This doesn't gain you HP like Sybil does. But this hurts you, and that's a good thing for blood. You want to be hurt because you want to trigger your effects.
Reach of the Archdemon.
Get
This is
out.
a body.
Get.
This is a body with Reach of the Archdemon. You just curve Jormungand into the Lyris Demon, and you just had access to Reach of the Archdemon, by the way.
I never want to hear that name on this podcast again.
Anyways, excited for this card. Excited for Blood.
It's
Really excited for Blood. I'm not gonna tell you why I'm excited for Blood yet, because obviously secret. But I'll keep you updated with my ideas for Blood when we do some testing this weekend.
so yeah. So let's keep going with these blood cards. This one we got here is Silver Chain Disciple, revealed by the Kriparian himself. um, so Silver Chain Disciple, 2 play 2/2 Bloodcraft card. Fanfare, deal 1 damage to both leaders and 2 damage to a random enemy follower if Vengeance is active for you.
Yep. Just to quick answer to Zio, we do not know that yet. We are confused about the way it's spelled. It says deals additional damage. We don't know if it's 2 or 1 and then 1.
It,
So we don't know that yet.
it could go either way. I have genuinely no clue.
So adding to the theme of dealing damage to yourself, Silver Chain Disciple feels brilliant. This is the 2-drop that I wanted. I finally wanted a 2-drop that's kind of like my Snarling Chains. I'm a big fan of Snarling Chains. I'm a big fan of dealing damage to myself and my opponent at the same time while removing stuff. This is the 2/2 that we wished we had, and well, sometimes it's just upside on when if you have Vengeance. You can deal 2 damage and kill that pesky enemy follower. 1 for 2 while dealing 1 ping damage. And 1 damage actually stacks a lot. Play decks like Jormungand.
Mm-hmm. So there is a forest card that never saw play called Elf Metallurgist that this kind of reminds me of because it requires you to have your class's effect. So forest you needed to cast 2 spells. This one you need to be in Vengeance. And then this one's just got the dealing 2 damage is just a relevant effect. You know, uh you can actually you can reach the Archdemon and then refund the play points and then you can Silver Chain Disciple. And you're putting your head down, but that's one of the only times I could ever think of wow, reaching the Archdemon isn't terrible here.
I'm putting my head down because you said no more Reach of the Archdemon in this stream or this podcast.
I couldn't hold myself to that one. I like making fun of the card too much, and and it's not even it's honestly it's not the most terrible card in the world. It's such a good target. It's not Revelation.
Also, I want to see when the next expansion hits, someone tweet at me when they do the fastest killing themselves I've ever seen. All right, I want to see you guys compete, race to see who kills themselves faster. Because if anything, it's more possible now with cards like Silver Chain and Snarling Chains and Ragery Claws and your favorite, Soul Demon.
Soul Dealer is not in standard anymore. It's only in
No, but I mean
unlimited. But
unlimited, of course.
yeah, no, there's
You want to kill yourself
oh,
very fast.
you can do it so fast. You slam your Soul Dealer, and then you can go all right. So the way you do it is on turn 3, you play what's her name? The one that refunds you play points, right? The 1/5.
Lilith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you play Lilith, and then on turn 4, your Lilith has to survive, and then you immediately slam Soul Dealer, and then you slam the Bloodkin card that does 1 damage to you for every card your opponent.
Exactly. Yeah. And gift for Bloodkin as well if you need that extra damage.
Yeah, there's ways to hurt yourself real quick now. All right, so let's move on to this next one. This is one that both you and I are pretty excited about, I think.
Hell yeah.
This is Buller Blood Maiden. So she's
Jesus Christ.
she's a 1 play point 1/1. And if you have at least 5 play points, play this card as either Buller Sanctity Maiden or Buller Dark Maiden. So Buller Sanctity Maiden is 5 play point 3/5 ward, fanfare, restore 2 defense to your leader. Buller Dark Maiden is a 5 play point 4/4 and give all your allied followers +1 and 0. And I think it gives itself +1 attack too, right? So
Yes.
so it's basically a 5/4 for 5.
Yes. Let me tell you, if you haven't seen the art of Buller,
Mhm.
just go see. She's gorgeous. Her 2 modes are so beautiful. the even the normal card. Look at the amount of art they put into a single one. It's not normal to see, but she's so beautiful. And from there, like this card is so good. I've went as far as to say that you will see this card being played in every single blood deck. I'm just putting it out there. If you play control, you want to play this one. If you play aggro, you play this one. If you play mid range, you want to play this one. If you play combo, like I am planning to do, you'll probably play this one too because she's one play point 1/1, which aggro decks are very fine playing. She's five play point Anthem effect, which buffs all your small followers, which aggro decks want to do, and some mid range decks do. Or she's a more controlling combo style card. Well, that she where she defends you and heals you, restores health. One of the best ways to restore health is in blood with cards like Sabrer and Bowler. She has such good stats for it as well.
If you're a control deck, right, and you're playing against an aggressive deck, having a one play point 1/1 is a good card. It can trade with it can trade with the 2/1. Have a one play point 1/1. Like when Wolfang Swordsman was announced, this card reminds me a lot of Wolfang Swordsman. This card enhances to a much better card than Wolfang Swordsman does. And I thought Wolfang Swordsman was not the worst card in the world because that was a one play point 1/1 that enhanced to a relevant body. Enhanced to a 1/1 with Bane that can trade with anything. This is much better. This is giving you a 3/5 with Ward that's healing you, or it's giving you a way to just push damage and have a strong, powerful body.
And she gets full evolve stats. That's something that I'm actually really appreciate as well, because she's giving you all these effects while evolving for full stats.
Yeah. So Buller, I think premium card.
One of
Um
my favorites, top three, easy in the expansion, the whole expansion.
so let's get on to this next one. We're gonna be moving into the portal cards now. So we already talked about the blood legendaries, unfortunately, last time, so we don't have any of those to talk about this time. But we do have Knower of History. And Knower of History is a 2 play point 2/2. With fanfare, put a prime artifact into your deck. Now, prime artifact is a 7 play point 5/5. With last words at the start of your turn, summon a prime artifact. I think this is good.
Very overall she's a very balanced card. She has the Icarus effect where if you evolve it, she gives you an extra card. So that's what Portal wants to be. They want to be putting artifacts and having ways to draw them in the same card if possible. So and she's adding a new artifact, a complete new artifact to the class, which is the more the craft, I guess, or more the fact, and that's the 5/5 for 7, which is cheaper than Mordecai, and it's more meaningful in Portocraft, I feel, than Shadow. Not that we don't have Nephthys, we have ways to basically tutor or the craft or Mordecai, and we can even biofab it. So there's a lot more interesting ways to pull this massive value card.
Whoa, we just got a nice surge of viewers. Hello, everyone who's
Yay.
who just got here. What's up?
Hello.
You,
For those of you that don't know, I am Akamaru Red and Mr. Zero team leader, HSK, and welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, welcome, guys. So one thing I want to mention about the Prime Artifact, I mean, this I'm sure you guys probably noticed, but just in case you guys didn't, Acceleration is a card, or Acceleratium is a card. The Prime Artifact will just get Rush when you have an Acceleratium on the field. There's also another card which we'll talk about after this one, actually, called Crystal Cannon. Actually, let's just jump right into that one. So there's Crystal Cannon, and here it is. So whenever an artifact follower that originally cost at least 3 play points comes into play, deal 3 damage to a random enemy follower. If no enemy followers are in play, deal 3 damage to the enemy leader instead. So imagine you have this Crystal Cannon on the field, and you also have an Acceleration on the field, which is, I think that's definitely possible. I think Portal can make a board state like that happen. They play like their Crystal Cannon, and then they just they play their Acceleratium, and then they keep refunding mana with their Deus Ex Machina and their Acceleratium and all of their artifacts. They get to play this Crystal Cannon for really cheap. And now, every time this Prime Artifact dies and comes back, on top of it being the power, a nice rush follower, it's dealing damage to something. So it can be sniping something that needs to be removed off the board. Like, I think this is just like a good card. I don't know though. I'm interested. I don't know if it's gonna. Portal does so many weird things that I'm just like I'm gonna let somebody else figure that out. I'm gonna keep playing my forest decks. There are too many weird things going on in this class, but I think there might be something good here.
Yep. Portal has, if you are going to set up something, Portal is the craft where you want to be. Because having access to acceleration and ancient artifacts allows you to actually build enough time to develop your weird amulets. And like you mentioned, something that I really appreciate from the Prime artifact, it's such a beautiful from a design standpoint, is that you're balancing the acceleration by putting the prime artifact resurrection at the beginning of your turn, which means you will not be able to infinite trade and get that infinite chain of value. Uh, on the other hand, you're also getting a nice protection from it, because if you suicide it, your opponent will not be able to banish it, and you will recover it at the beginning of your turn. So I really enjoy the small, fine design choices they go for these types of cards.
Now,
And
mhm.
support cannon, as many people call it, crystal cannon, I think, is way better than support cannon, not only because it's cheaper, but because it's in the class where it thrives with creating tokens and creating this massive amounts of value, and
um,
just keeps rolling.
imagine just dropping like having a crystal cannon, and just dropping like three of the Gruner artifacts, the ancient artifacts, I think it's called, or is that the rush one? The
No,
two three ward one,
it's
mystic
ancient
artifact, mystic
mystic.
artifact.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So imagine
Ancient
dropping
mystic
like
rush.
two or three mystic artifacts. You just wipe a board and you just have death breaths. You just have like a death breath that just wiped the board. That's pretty good. And also drew you a bunch of cards. Um yeah, I don't want to beat this into the ground. So let's move on to this one. This is Junk. I love this card's name. I want to just get that right out of the way. So Junk is a 3 play point 1/2 bronze card, portal card. Fanfare and last words, put a puppet into your hand.
To me, this feels like the way you want to build puppets. This is what you want. If you want to design a puppet deck, this is what you want. You want really cheap followers that create puppets, because your deck is all based on puppets. You don't care about your stats, your expensive cards. You don't care about your 5 play points that create puppets. No, you just want cheap followers you can play with your puppets.
I'm so much happier playing this than Puppet Room. It's insane.
Hmm. Like I want to go back to my PTP deck with cards like these. I was not very excited with my puppet PTP. I had to play some artifacts just because, again, the puppet cards were not good at all. And this is a good addition to it. I feel it creates 3 shadows. It gives you access to a lot of puppets. It's quite well statted when you think about it. Even though it looks like a 3 play point 1/2, you have to remind yourself that you're getting 2/2 in stats, in rush stats, when you get the puppets.
I wouldn't really count the puppets as having any HP because you use them to suicide. But yeah, I mean, the I didn't like. I kind of like glanced over this card. Like I thought, oh, this is a pretty alright puppet support card. And then a friend of mine had said like, hey, this card like reminds me of like a portal card, a portal version of Bone Chimera. And when he put it like that, it really changed my perspective on how I viewed this card. And like it's in a way even better because you can just get the puppets, you can save the skeletons or the puppets whenever you want and just use them to instant remove the dangerous threat when you need to.
Or to gain storm, right? Or
Hmm.
or actually to synergize with the new legendary, which we will not talk about now. We'll save it for the next week.
It
But
hasn't
she
been like
has a lot. Yeah, she has a lot of synergies with puppets too.
yeah, the legendary hasn't been like we're gonna talk about one portal legendary, but the other one hasn't been officially translated yet, so we're gonna hold up on that one. Um, so let's move on to Zwei and Victoria. Let me get rid of this. All right. So Zwei and Victoria. Zwei Murderous Puppet is a 7 play point 4/4 with Fanfare, Summon Victoria, and then Evolve, give an allied Victoria the ability to attack 2 times per turn. Now, Victoria is a 3 play point 3/1 artifact, or I'm not sure. I don't know if it's an artifact
Puppet,
actually. I think it's supposed to be just like,
puppet.
yeah, it's just supposed to be flavored like a puppet. And then it's got Rush. And whenever this follower attacks an enemy follower, deal X damage to the follower before it can deal any damage in return. X equals this follower's attack. So it has the Tauros the Great effect on it. So this card reminds me like you compared King Snowman to Ektar. This card kind of reminds me of Ektar. You you have to evolve it if you want it to attack twice and to remove two things. But having a 3/1 that can remove two 3 power minions while leaving behind like a pretty sizable body. It's pretty relevant. One thing I actually didn't notice until just now. When you evolve Way, it doesn't get any stats.
No, that's. So I mentioned the fickle summoner, the was her name? Yeah, fickle summoner. You evolve her, you get this really cool 5/5 wards follower. My problem with this card is actually Victoria. I think Y is fine. But Victoria to me is the 3/1 stat line is kind of awkward to me because okay, she can deal or attack to the follower she's fighting against. However, that means that you will have to kill small followers. If you try to attack a big follower, she will die on the backswing. She won't be able to survive it, and she has the ability to attack twice, but she cannot attack twice the same target because you have to expect her to die. She only has 1 health, so it's either you have this meta with really wide boards, which might happen. We had the snowmans, we had the walkers, we have all these go wide or home decks, and Victoria could be a really help against that. But Zwei on herself, evolving into a 4/4, 7 play points to evolve into a 4/4 is, I don't know. And if Victoria doesn't get to kill 2 bodies and survive, you cannot evolve the Victoria too. So she's not like Taurus, because you need it for it to be like Taurus.
To to me, like looking at this, it looks like an all right card. I personally would not expect this to be anything too crazy, but I also just stay as far away from Portal as I can. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be insanely surprised if this made it into a deck, but I don't expect it to. Is where I'm at on it. So we do have this Portal legendary for you guys. We have that which erases. This card's got a sick name. And this is a 7 play point 6/4, and it's got the effect of whenever a card is put into a deck, banish a random enemy follower or amulet. So this is like it's like an otherworldly rift on a follower. Um, the biggest question that I have about this card, and I don't think it's going to work this way, but so your what's it called? Your any of your artifact makers, they shuffle two into your deck for the most part. I don't think that's going to trigger this twice, but it
No,
might. And if
no,
it
no, no. It's confirmed that it's not
oh,
going
it's
to
been
trigger
confirmed.
twice because yeah, because there's a card that exists with the same spelling. I think that's
S-
the word you can say.
The
The
same
same
wording.
wording, the
Yeah.
same phrasing. Yeah, and it doesn't proc twice. There's a card. It's an unidentified object or something like that
Oh
that
yeah.
gains +1/+1 or +1/+0. I don't quite
It's
remember,
it's like
but it
something
basically
specimen.
gets a yeah, it gets a buff whenever you put a card into your deck, and when you play Biofab or any of the other cards, it only works once because it says whenever you put a card. It doesn't
hmm
mean X cards, right? So yeah, I think it's just once.
This thing would actually be straight bonkers if it triggered multiple times. Like imagine if you biofabbed something and you just banished three things from your
Yeah,
opponent's side of the field. That'd be
it's
insane.
it's an unidentified subject, and it's +1/+0 whenever you put a card into your deck.
So I don't know how to feel about this one. It banishes a strong effect, but it's so expensive.
Yeah, it also doesn't survive a lot, so you have to expect it to be a one-time get out of jail card, right? And it's also random, so you don't guarantee that your biofab is gonna get the thing you're trying to get at first. So Otherworld Rift just seems to be more consistent than this card. I mean, if you have a hand with a lot of biofabs, I guess that's really a strong tempo play. But I think pro players are looking into consistency, so I do not expect players like Praetorian that really like Portal to add this into the mix. I think it would be much rather play Victoria and actually remove stuff that he chooses to remove rather than banish it. However, we mentioned this before. I don't know if Cygames heard this, but they're also designing. Their design philosophy is if there's a problem, we will try to print cards that solve that problem in the next expansion. And we're seeing a lot more Amulet hate in this set because tilting was a really big problem, and they're actually going and pushing for Amulet interaction as well as other types of amulets.
Imagine if like an expansion or two down the line, there are more cards like Biofab or that add things into your deck for free. Then this becomes just like a pretty good way of making like a pretty strong tempo play. Like you Biofab like one time, you play like your one play point card that shuffles something into your deck. You're banishing like one or two things. You can evolve this thing if you want, or you can evolve like the Icarus that you just played with it. I don't know.
On the other
Like
hand,
on turn 9, you can go like that which erases Icarus, evolve your Icarus, and then Biofab. Then you have
I
like
would have to see a card that puts artifacts and then puts artifacts again if there's resonance or if you evolve, something like that. Because expecting to have three cards for just this nice banish combo, I don't know if that's where you want to be. If you want to push tempo instead of consistency, I think you want to be more into the Daria kind of decks or the tilting at the windmills, the kind of decks, rather than play Portal Craft.
yeah.
At least to me, the class doesn't push for inconsistency because there's also the Deus Ex that pulls a lot of inconsistency to the deck if you don't get it. Adding an extra layer of it could be awkward to me.
So yeah, that which erases interesting card. I don't want to count this one out like just straight up say this card is unplayable because I don't think that's the case. I just don't think this expansion is going to be the one it sees play if it ever does see play. Um so let's move on to these Haven cards. Let's go to Temple of the Holy Lion. Temple of the Holy Lion is a 2 play point amulet. With fanfare, put a Holy Lion crystal into your hand, and whenever a Holy Lion crystal is played, recover 1 play point. So this card's effect is put a Holy Lion Spirit crystal into your hand, and then from now on, all of the Holy Lion crystals you play have been reduced in cost by 50%. And if the Holy Lion crystal deck ends up becoming like a legitimate thing, this card will absolutely be a huge part of how that deck wins its game because that speeds up how that deck wins so much.
Mm-hmm. However, from what I've seen so far, Uh, Lions got me really excited at the beginning because they were one of the first cards to be revealed to us. They gave us a new, different win condition rather than Aegis or Seraph. I was excited for that. I like that style of building up this massive board state or this massive value engine where you evolve and grow your cards the more you play. But however, I don't know if there's enough Lion Crystal creators, and this also you'd like to run two cards of Temple or Temple of the Holy Lion. Three seems a bit too much. They clog your deck. They clog your board presence. But if you have two of these, that's really nice. Getting that free Holy Lion crystal
This
and
card would
recovering play points.
this card would really be helped by having a similar, if not the same, clause that Summit Temple has, where if you already have one on the
Yes.
field, it cycles. Even if it didn't cycle, if it just popped itself, just so that it wasn't taking up space on the board, I could imagine that being helpful.
We have yet to see the legendary. Hopefully, the legendary actually pushes a little bit more Lion because I'm a fan of that. I would jump to Avon if that
S
happened, but
the
so far I'm not interested in Avon.
the lions are what? They start off like as a small body, and then they start off as like
Yeah.
a small
So
body with
there,
ward, and then it
the
gets like
Holy
storm.
Lion Crystal. Yeah, Holy Lion Crystal is a spell that costs 2 play points. It puts a lion onto play. The first, I believe it's three. The first three times you cast the spell, it puts a 2/2. The fourth and the fifth puts a 4/4. And then after the six, no, 4/5/6, I think is a 4/4. And then after the six, you get a 6/6 with Storm or a 4/4 with Storm. But I think it's a 6/6 Storm.
That's pretty
And
strong.
if you enhance the Holy Lion Crystal for 6, I believe, you get another Holy Lion Crystal. But I need to check that. But I think it's like that. 4/4 Storm, thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious about the Lion Crystal.
Enhances 5, yeah.
Like Lion Crystal archetype might be a thing. Like it sounds pretty strong. Like it reminds me of Jades from Hearthstone.
Yes.
Like just as the game goes on, it becomes more and more powerful. Jades would become like absurdly big. They become like 13/13s. Instead, this is just a 6/6 with Storm, which just might be better.
4/4.
4/4 with Storm, which that still might just be better. That's a 50 or HP every time you play one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the game ends really fast. As soon as you get those lions, it will end really fast. Because like 2 play point for or Storm, that's simple.
so let's move on to this one, right over here, Tenko Shrine, and there we go.
Again, another support cannon-y effect. Side Games is pushing a lot of amulets, a lot of amulet interactions, and this just fits the flavor of Haven, where you want to heal yourself and restore health to your followers. But we are choosing this card for a particular reason rather than its effect, which is
This thing's got the best, some pretty good art. Have you guys seen this snake? You guys see that snake there? Let me
oh
just
come on, you
let,
dodged the. He doesn't want to say it. You do not want to say what you told me before.
Tenko.
You are afraid.
I was saying Tenko just bothers me. She's annoying. I don't like her voice.
You said, and I quote, "I hate Tenko."
I would like Tenko
I
so much.
love Tenko.
I, I,
Tenko, if you didn't notice, I went to a World Grand Prix and I played a Tenko deck because I just love me some Tenko animateds. Triggered. See, I told you they would hate you.
that's why I wasn't saying it. That's why I was staying quiet. You threw me under the bus,
But
Aka.
okay, you can regain some popularity, and
Yeah.
I'll lose some popularity because you're going to see. Like, I hate the snake.
Dude, how could you
Snake.
hate that snake? Look at that face.
Because that
How could you
snake.
say no to that face?
Because that snake looks like she's stoned. She's so stoned. Look at that face.
Dude, what's
Were
what?
you? What are you all smoking here? Why does it smell so funny? Look at that. Look at those pupils dilated. She's so stoned.
The
She's
snake.
so high.
The snake's just like looking at you like, yo, what's going on though? All right, but more importantly, let's get what this card actually does. So Tenko Shrine is 4 play point. It's an amulet. Whenever you restore defense to an ally, deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower. If there are no enemy followers in play, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. So when I saw this card, the first card that I thought of was Pegasus Doulahan. So if you have a Pegasus Doulahan pop and enter the battlefield, and you have like anything on the board, Pegasus Doulahan will heal all those things. Even if they're at max HP, every single one of those heals will trigger on the Tenko Shrine.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure.
Bunkers.
Does Pegasus Doulahan heal himself when he enters the battlefield?
No.
It says allies, I think. All other allies, I think.
All other allied. Yeah.
Yeah. It
But
reminds me of like
but
an Alana style deck. I could see something like this
also
working.
very cool with either of the White Wing. Because when you either of the White Wing get Tenko, and again, if you have a Doulahan or like your Tenko will proc this very easily if you and get something else to attack on the same turn.
Yeah, I want to see if that card gets there. I don't know if it's got enough support.
And I just like the having amulets as win conditions is my favorite type of amulet. Is the one that has such a big impact in the game because it's just permanent and it's there, and your opponent cannot deal with it easily.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll see some amulet hate on the game.
People have been like laughing, saying like, "Oh look, this class got a support cannon. Oh look, this class got a support cannon." What people don't realize is if every class has a support cannon, people are going to be playing their support cannons because you now have time to play your support cannon. Because if your opponent went turn 4 Tenko Shrine, you can go turn 5 support cannon because you both just gave up all your tempo those turns.
And let me tell you, if there's a support cannon that's really strong, is the one that he while killing your opponent. We both played Magic, and we know that racing situations, cards that have lifesteal or
Mm-hmm.
drain in Shadowverse are very efficient. If my support cannon is healing me as well as killing you, it's better than your support cannon that's only killing me.
But my support cannon is a Barbarossa. Uh,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
all right, so let's move on to this next one. This next one's pretty sweet. It's Jeweled Priestess. It's a 2 play point 1/2. So and it's got fanfare. Choose put either a white diamond or a black diamond into your hand. So these are both 1 play point amulets with countdown 2. White diamond has last words, draw 2 cards, and black diamond has last words, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader, and then restore 2 defense to yours. So you can use it to heal yourself. You could use it to like chip your opponent down. Um, if you have a what's it called, a summit temple into play, this is basically a 2/2.
Yep. You can use it with Tenko Shrine to deal 2 damage, restore 2, and deal 2 again. You could use it for the Sacred Plea. Again, so many flexible. Playing a control deck, you obviously want to draw cards. If you're playing an aggressive deck, you want to deal damage. So it just fits. In my opinion, it fits to that play style of maybe you want to play your Heavenly Knights to finish the game rather than just play your Aegis, and it just helps that for that sorry, that archetype. And you can always shine bright like a diamond, right?
Oh geez, I think after that one we gotta just move on to the next one. I had a point to say, Aka, but you killed it. But actually, no. What I was gonna say is this is like, we were talking about Dragon Summoner. We were talking about the Rune one that they got. I forget what other class got a Dragon Summoner S card this expansion, but these 2 play point 1/2s that draw you a card tend to be pretty good. And then this one not only draws you a card, it can draw you two. It puts a
Sacred
yeah, it
Plea,
puts a
kind
Sacred
of.
Plea into your hands. It's a better Sacred Plea, right?
Hmm. It's one less content, but it comes later, so it
Yeah.
comes on turn 2 or actually 3. You
Hmm.
cannot get it earlier, so.
That's still fine though. So let's move on to this one. This one is one that I like a lot. This one is one that I like a lot. This is Godsworn Alexiel. It's a 8 play point 5/5 with ward, and it's got fanfare. Give your leader the following effect: if an allied amulet is in play, your leader can't take more than 4 damage at a time. So me and Aka have had this debate for a bit. I like these cards that negate maximum damage. I know Aka has not been a huge fan of that, but
Wait a minute, I did say
you
that.
said
You kind
that
of
you wanted it to be
struggled with that.
proactive. You said you
Exact,
wanted
but
it to be proactive.
also I said that give me a card that is not conditional, like nilpotent entity that dies or Nawiz that dies, right?
Hmm.
This card is permanent, all right? This is a permanent effect that is passively helping me winning some games. So,
And it's got
although
ward.
exactly, although I didn't say that like cards like Roland, cards like Roland. If I was gonna play something like these, it would be like Roland or something like that. But Noise and Nilpotent are not what I want to be. This is also not where I want to be, but this is an improvement on that.
Yeah, and I think I'm just happy to see more of these effects, whether they get played or not. The sheer fact that they exist makes me happy.
It stops Elephant. It was a bit of a problem for Avon to deal with Elephant, and this may help that matchup.
Yeah, it stops the new dragon combo too, the Lindworm.
If this is better than Roland, it is in the sense that this is a permanent effect, and you can still restore amulets if your opponent moves them, so you can refresh that effect. It's very hard for your opponent to kill an amulet or multiple amulets, in fact, and still deal damage to you. So this is better than Roland because, for instance, cards like Emeralda easily deal with the Roland. Dulahan or Durandal kills the
Hmm.
Durandal and deals 4. This one you might have multiple amulets. You could have the diamond amulet or the summit temple,
It
which makes
it
your opponent does not want to invest into summit temple. So
it doesn't take up space on board. Like when you're playing sword, you want that board space. You want to be able to go wide. When you're playing Haven, you want to have your amulets on the field so they can pop later on. So it's the fact that it's not taking up space on the board is good. So let's move on to quite possibly the most impactful card in the set. We got Tartman. We got the greatest card in the universe. I don't know if this is the most impactful card in the set. Definitely a ridiculously bold claim. I myself would not believe that, but look at that art. Easily the best art in the expansion.
uh, meta defining. I
Meta
mean,
defining.
we will be looking and evaluating every in accordance to Tardman's legs, you look at all the legs and you'll see it's not as good as Tardman's. So I'm at it. Also love the fact that when he evolves, he just explodes and gets all the pigeons around him, the doves around him.
But honestly, this card has a good effect. I don't know if it's like the best effect, but it's pretty good. It doesn't kill something, but it like oh wow, I didn't realize that no, this thing doesn't it doesn't evolve to a 4/4. It stays at a 2/2.
Nope,
Oh
nope.
wow.
Actually what stops me from saying this is the best card I've ever seen. It's because the effect is so bad that forces me to not enjoy Tardman. I think Side Games does it on purpose. They create the best card in the game, but then they stick it to a card that doesn't have an exciting effect.
Wow, I'm actually really disappointed. I thought this was a 4/4. If this was a 4/4, like imagine if this thing could like tempo evolve over something and also bounce something to your opponent's hand. That's like
Also,
that's like a crazy
also
lyrial.
you tell me random and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I don't want to be doing anything random other than like cards like Lurching Corpse or Necro Assassin. That's the good kind of random. This random is like,
Wow.
I'm out of here.
And this card really feels like a missed opportunity now. All right, let's go on to this next one. We like to call it Bad Dance of Death. This is Divine Retribution. It's a 5 play point, randomly destroy one of the strongest enemy followers in play, and then enhance 8, then deal 3 damage to the enemy leader. This can kill a Spawn of the Abyss. Can kill a stealth Spawn of the Abyss. And
Well, that it's actually one of the few ways they have to deal with ambush. We had cards like Prim. We talked about it earlier, and ambush cards. If there's a lot of ambush, this is a good way to deal with it.
yeah,
I'm just sad it takes a slot in your deck. This would be so much better if it was a choice card, right? Choose
mm,
this or choose this.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not.
If it had 2 options to go for, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, imagine like choose deal like 1 play point, deal 3 damage, or 5 play point this, right? It will be more interesting to me.
This card just looks unimpressive to me. Like,
Actually, this just shows how neutral is being down. You're
mhm.
not seeing a lot of powerful neutrals so far. They do not seem exciting at all. There's only one, and we'll talk about it in a bit. There's only one card in neutrals that is exciting to me as of yet,
Yeah, I mean,
as of now.
at least like there was a spot like Dance of Death with Dance of Death being gone, there was no neutral removal at 5. So like that this does give that back. And like I said, it does kill like a Spawn of the Abyss, so I could imagine like this making its way like as a one of every now and then, but I don't really expect that. I think it's just kind of slow. So let's go to this one. We're coming near the end of these cards now. We got what's his name? Paradise Vanguard. Now, we had this as a different name too. Like I don't remember what the other name we had was for it.
I think it was Angelic Scout.
Yeah, that sounds right. So I think the official name for this card is Paradise Vanguard. I like the other name better, but this is a cool card. It's a 2 play point 2/2. Full evolves into a 4/4. And then its effect is evolve. Banish an enemy follower with 1 defense. So this is like an angel award. It can't go face, but to make up for that, it banishes.
Mhm.
Um,
Feels like a real literal replacement for a lot of people because it's killing the 1 health follower without being too oppressive. Because Lyriel was so oppressive that every deck was basically playing Lyriel.
yeah. Unfortunately, like with this, Lyriel was able to take down like a 4/5. This can't take down a 4/5, but this can banish. I don't know. I'd say a Lurching
But
Corpse, but Lurching Corpse won't be in
listen to what
rotation.
you said. But just listen to what you said. That does not mean that Paradise Vanguard is a bad card. It just means that Lyriel was bonkers. Like
Mm-hmm.
your 2 play point follower was killing a 4/5. If you listen to yourself, you just realize how crazy that was.
Yeah, no, it was very, very powerful card, and this is the closest I think we're gonna get to a neutral Priest of the Cudgel. That's all I'm gonna say about this card, and I'm gonna leave it at that. If you have anything else you want to say about this one, Aka.
Please no Priest of the Cudgels.
All right, so let's go on to. This is going to be the last card we're talking about today, and it is going to be Moon and Sun. There is
So
another
cute.
neutral for us to be talking about. We're gonna talk about that next week. We're gonna have another good episode next week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Thank you guys for everyone who's been like actually staying and watching. Um,
Hmm. And I think we end on a high note. This card is so cute when you think about it, and Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu are obviously themes that are present throughout Japanese
mhm.
culture. And finally, we're getting it in Shadowverse. The Infinite Moon, I believe, is Tsukuyomi, if I'm not mistaken, and Amaterasu is Infinite something too, but I don't remember.
One represents the moon and one represents the sun.
It's the yeah, it feels like the yin and the yang, and it does feel like they transitioned that idea, that cultural feeling to this card.
Yeah,
We have two faces of the card, and they are very different, and they represent this expansion the best. I believe it to be a very good representation of Downbreak and Night Edge.
I think this card is just like as far as flavor goes, it's done so nicely. So you have the Amaterasu is it's well. Let's start from the beginning. So Moon and Sun is a 3 play point spell, and you choose either an Amaterasu or a Tsukuyomi, and it enhances that 7 to when you enhance that 7, it gives that follower +3/+3. So it's not only a 3 drop, it's also a 7 drop. Um, and then it's flexible. You have either Amaterasu, which is a 3 play point 2/2 with Clash, restore a defense tier leader, or you have a Tsukumi, which is a 3 play point 3/1 with Clash, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. So you have one half that's slowly bringing you back into the game, gaining you HP, and you have the other half that's slowly chipping your opponent out of the game. And this is like an Ouroboros, where you can once once they die, once the Amaterasu or Tsukumi dies, it has last words. Put a Moon and Sun back into your hand. So you can just grind people out of the game by slowly chipping them down for this 1 damage, or you can slowly, I'm just gaining HP and gaining HP, and you have to remove this threat. Even if it's the only card in my hands, you're gonna have to keep removing it if we're in that type of game, we're in that type of racing situation.
First classes that come to mind that really thrive on effects like this are obviously Dragon. With the new Lindworm, you want that this infinite spell value as well as healing yourself because
Mm-hmm.
you're playing like a control deck with a win condition, and you get this spell. This is a spell. This is exciting because it's the first ever real card legendary spell without being a token,
Mm-hmm.
and which is actually fun. Usually, it's the other way around. Followers create tokens, but this is a spell that creates a token follower, which is legendary. And you also, I believe, Aven is a class that also will get really good use out of this because you want to be healing yourself with cards like Tenko Shrine and stuff like that, and you also want to have this controlling effect of not running out of resources and protecting yourself and healing yourself and surviving through the late game.
I also think Rune could make use out of this effect because this is a spell. It's gonna spell boost your stuff. It's expensive. It's a 3 cost spell, but you're never gonna not have it. It's always gonna be something you can rely on. Like once you draw the first Moon and Sun, unless it gets banished, unless it gets hit by that angel, the new angel of the word,
Hmm.
it's you're gonna keep having the spell to enhance to keep like boosting your giant chimera or your what's the name, the Rooney her,
Pro- Prophecy of Doom.
yeah, your prophecy of doom. So, and on top of it, Rune Rune loves having just extra ways to burn people out. This is a nice way to just I have a way to burn people out. And Rune also doesn't have too much healing, and that's a way to squeeze some healing at least into your Rune deck.
Yeah, it's a very flexible card. It's the face of the expansion in my mind. I'm not sure if that is actually the face of the expansion. It probably is,
For
but
it makes sense for Daybreak Night Edge.
yeah, right. Because it shows the light and the healing and the restorative effects and the darkness and the destructive effects. Also, the art on these two cards are very different and very beautiful. They show you look at the card and you know exactly what you're choosing just
Hmm.
by looking at the art. Which to me is a fan of card games. I want to see a card that I know I know what it exactly what it does just from the art.
Yeah, so this is and I can imagine like as a meta game like gets slower and slower, and people are playing more and more Moon and Suns. Like it, if I know my opponent is playing like 3 Moon and Suns, right, and they also have ways to banish my Moon and Sun, now maybe I'm put in a position where I need to play more and more and more Moon and Suns, and this is the kind of card that I could imagine like can really warp a format around itself.
Infinite value engines are always scary when you're attacking a meta.
Hmm.
You always have to have this in the back of your mind that you could be playing against a deck that has playing a control deck. You could be playing against a deck that has the Tsukuyomi or the Matarasu, and you're not gonna be able to outvalue that.
Just keep in mind when you play your Tokiyumi, that it gets immediately Paradise Vanguard because it is a 3/1. It's set up perfectly for that.
Mhm.
Um, wow. So this was a long episode today. We talked about lots of cards. Somebody's asking, can Grand Prix tickets be used for Grand Prix finals? I think so, right? I don't see why they wouldn't
I,
be.
yeah, I don't see why not. On the menu, you can choose the way you're gonna pay for it. So I think so.
So I want to open this part up, this part of the episode up. If you guys have any questions, we'll be here for another couple minutes. If you guys have anything you want to talk to us about, we're here. We'll fill the air a little bit, and waiting to see if there are any questions. Mm.
Oh yeah, I just got my ticket. I got my Grand Prix ticket, so I'll probably be using it for that too.
And that the final day starts when? Tomorrow?
20, I think, right?
28th. Oh no, 28th I think is the day of the expansion. Um,
No. I mean
yeah.
24th of the Grand Prix finals, I think.
I think today is the last day of the uh
Yeah,
Grand Prix.
exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Because but today's 23rd for Japan, so it's tomorrow. 24th is is when it starts.
Unlike Ouroboros, Sun and Moon doesn't have immediate impact against control decks.
Hmm.
But Ouroboros costs 8
Definitely.
mana.
Mhm. You definitely need to keep the value engine going.
Hmm.
Instead of just having this massive threat that your opponent needs to deal with, they could ignore your Tsukuyomi, but she will still deal 3. And you have to bear in mind that when you play it for 7, it's a 6/4. That it becomes Ouroboros stat level, right? Close to it.
Yeah, and imagine if if their board is just like ultimate carrots, right? Or like carrots not going to be around, but what if it's just like tutus, right? They have to trade their tutu into the Tsukumi, and while it's not great, your 3 drop is trading for a 2 drop. It's still getting 1 chip damage to face, and every time you play that, unless they have a removal spell for it, and it has to be a spell, every time that clash effect is triggering, it's getting more and more chip damage to face.
Hey, yeah, just think about it. When you play Tsukuyomi or Amaterasu and your opponent spends a card on it, you're already ahead a card because you can still replay that card later in the game or the exact same turn, the exact next turn.
Did they
So it doesn't look very powerful on the front side, but in the active when you're actively playing a game, you see its effect and you'll think, oh, come on. It's kind of like Carrot. Like when Carrot showed up, it wasn't very threatening, but it's always annoying for some matchups to play against the Carrot deck.
Seafootlong is asking, why are there 2 things in my crate? Did they give a free random legendary card? Yeah, everyone got a free Queen of the Dread Sea. I don't know if that's been done yet. It might have been, but I do know they announced everyone is getting 1 free Queen of the Dread Sea.
I don't remember having been gifted a legendary before.
I
We
think
got tickets, we got packs, but not
I
cards, I
think
think.
during the expansion with Dark Angel Olivia, I think there was a way for you to get like a free animated Olivia, but I don't know how
Yeah,
that.
but that was if you were top scorer of the ladder, if you were one of the top 10 players or 100 players of ladder,
Yeah,
or was she given to everyone? I don't think so.
I don't know. I think you had to do pretty well to get that.
I
I,
think it was top something in points. They
um,
also gifted them real cards, the real Olivia card. I know that too.
so let's see. you have any shout outs you want to give?
Shoutouts to Zero Fine.
Yep.
He makes it through. He recently told me that if he won, he would dream hack. So I want to meet him in real life. So I want him to win, and because obviously he's from HSK, and we all want him to have success. It's really exciting when one of your own makes it this far.
Oh, it's great. It's a great feeling. Um, I want to give a shout out to all of our viewers today. I think this might be like one of the higher numbers of people we've had watching us, at least as consistently as this has been. So, thank you guys for this. And I know the past couple weeks we've been like a little shaky with how often we've been able to do this. We are definitely going to be getting ourselves back onto a more legitimate schedule. Um, there's just been some stuff going on. Um,
Oh, I know that. I'll let you answer it first.
what is the first class you played? You all plan to play as soon as Dawnbreak Night Edge hits? I have two forest decks already built that I want to try out. um, other than that, I probably want to mess with Blood and then either Rune or Dragon. Those seem like the most interesting classes to me.
Whatever it is, I want you guys to pay attention to HSK as soon as the expansion hits because we will be ready. We will start testing the new expansion this weekend, actually. Right this weekend. So we will come out of the gate with some nice decks, prepared decks at least. Well, not the best, but at the moment they might as well be one of the best tuned decks at least. So I will go straight for Bloodcraft. I missed Bloodcraft. It's been so long. This expansion didn't treat Blood that well, so I'm excited for the new cards and I want to try them out. After that would be I mentioned it in past the podcast, so that probably Runecraft mid range Runecraft.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff going on. Um, let's. I think we can close up today's episode. We gave everyone some time to ask us questions. Once again, thank you everyone for doing this. Thank you everyone who gave us a follow. If you are not already a follower and you enjoyed the show and would like to see us do more of these, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us a lot. Um, oh, and if you guys are looking for some content to watch at the start of the new expansion, you can always when we do when the new expansion comes out, us as HSK, we try to host some sort of 24-hour stream. We're not always successful with it, but we're gonna attempt again this time, and I think we can do it this time. I think we're gonna make it happen. And if you guys are looking for some tournaments to play in, as soon as the expansion starts, there's always a lot of those. There's the Shadow Nexus tournament. We are going to be hosting our own unlimited tournament, probably one of the few unlimited tournaments for the expansion, at least as early as that. I think we have that. It's like the second. I think we have it at. I don't completely remember what date that was, but it's definitely early on in the month. Um, I'll drop links to that in the YouTube description, and I will drop the link to that as well in Twitch chat. Um, and once again, guys, thank you very much, and have a good night. See you next week.
Yep, that was Cezero. I'm Akamaru Red, and thank you guys so much for the company, and see you next week.